Yeah. Finna get it. Watch me. Finna get it now. Finna get it, watch me run it down. Finna get it, never backing out. Finna get it, yeah, I'm up and I'm out. Used to know me when I nothing in my pockets. Now they see me and they talking, always watching. I remember when you said I wouldn't make it. Now you mad because I took it, didn't fake it. Pressing every day, yeah, I was patient. Putting all that work, no hesitation. Now I'm getting everything I'm chasing. Look at me now, yeah, I'm elevation. Finna get it now. Finna get it, watch me run it down. Finna get it, never backing out. Finna get it, yeah, I'm up and I'm out. See me pulling up, they switching how they acting. Back then, you weren't here when I was lacking. Now you want a piece of what I'm stacking. But I remember everything that happened. Keep it moving, ain't no time for all that talking. I've been running to the bag, I'm never walking. They've been sleeping, I've been up until the morning. Now I'm winning and there ain't no way I'm falling. Finna get it now. Finna get it, watch me run it down. Finna get it, never backing out. Finna get it, yeah, I'm up and I'm out. Yeah, they doubted me, they did it, now they proud of me.
Good evening, folks, and welcome back to coverage of the 2026 InfinityGSeries. My name is Finley Williams, and I'll be bringing you coverage throughout the evening of round 9 of the Premier Sim Racing competition in Gran Turismo esports in Europe and the rest of the world. And it could be a crucial round as we reach the penultimate round of action tonight before we head to Monday in Grand Valley to close out proceedings, as we could have our champions crowned. After 92 esports had a phenomenal race on Monday at the Circuit de la Sarthe, they're now in pole position to take home the championship, and they need a 60-point gap at the top of the round. Races bronze, silver, and golden rockets. We have Pyro, who we'll get to in a moment, who was with me on Monday, but I want to introduce a very special guest this evening who will be joining us for the first time. He's a man who's represented the Dutch on the world stage for a couple of years now at this point. Podiums on the Gran Turismo World Series, currently racing with Vitality. I'm delighted to welcome to the broadcast Kai de Bruin. Kai, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. New area for me, commentating, not driving for once. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah. Good. No, it's great to have you this evening, and we'll touch on the combinations in a bit more detail down the line. But looking at what we have in store tonight, one of the most famous circuits in world motorsport is about Francorchamps, and in Group 1 machinery as well. There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong for the teams tonight, just on a technical aspect.
Definitely can go wrong. That's a certain. Gotta love myself a bit of Group 1. I'll jump in here. Hello, Pyro today, and yeah, Group 1 is definitely one of those sets of cards where things can go wrong very quickly if you let it go wrong. And with these track combinations, the weather that might be inclement a little bit later on, it's going to be a bit more difficult for all the drivers to get from point A to point B. That's a certain.
Absolutely. I was going to come to you very quickly, Kai. Looking at that combination that we have going tonight, what potential variations, notwithstanding the weather, we have dynamic weather obviously this evening as well, but looking at the combination we have in store, Group 1 machinery around Spa-Francorchamps, what can you see in prospect for the teams tonight?
I guess with the weather that's gonna maybe fall down, maybe some rain, maybe mixed conditions. I guess it will not be easy for the guys out there, especially with this type of machinery. Difficult on power for sure, high speed. So I think anything can happen with this kind of weather.
Right, okay, so we will dissect the combination in a bit more detail before we get qualifying for our first race of the evening started in about 15 minutes time. But if we can, let's just have a look. Yes, beautiful from production. Let's have a look at our championship standings heading into the penultimate round of action at the InfinityGSeries. Now we have 3 races coming up for you tonight. As we did on Monday, we start with the bottom 12 teams in the championship and the bronze rockets, and it's Team Monza Racing on top at the moment by 11 points after winning the last 2 races back to back. So they won the bronze rocket race on Monday at Circuit de la Sarthe. They then won a regular season race at Abu Dhabi the week before, so they are having a fantastic turnaround at the postseason. They are under pressure behind, though. Annexion Racing Team only 11 points behind, and AGT drivers did have a bit of a disappointing race themselves on Monday, but they're still in that championship fight after the ground they made through the regular season. One team that have taken a massive hit, though, the Lux Esports team. Now, after we finished broadcasting on Monday, the stewards went into their little shot, I suppose. I visualise, and they dished out some penalties, and the only penalty to come through was Deluxe Esports. Toto Coco receiving a 20-second penalty for the lap 1 incident we brought to you on Monday, and that meant he finished the race with comfortable last and picking up no points. So this was a team that were right up there in the fight for the Bronze Rockets title that are no longer up there and need a really good race tonight. We then have the Silver Rockets, and we'll get to them in a moment. But the other main point of intrigue regarding the top 6 teams tonight in the Golden Rockets is that the team's championship can be wrapped up here at Spa-Francorchamps tonight. 92 Esports currently streets ahead of Freedom Esports in second after a 1-2 finish on Monday. and teams falling apart all around them. Krakenstein's GT, the other big winners from Monday, they went from 6th up to 3rd in the championship. But the main figure we're looking at tonight, it's a 60-point gap at the top that would close out the championship for 92 heading into Grand Valley next week. There's a lot at stake here, Pyra, for these teams up at the top of the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to play for 2 rounds left, but when you have got to look down the grid in terms of that Golden Rockets in particular, you just seen teams fall apart, particularly the worst possible time, as Tekka is the biggest example of that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, one question I had for you, Kai, the lobby is open. We'll get some practice laps to you in a moment. Would you say that momentum plays a massive factor in these long-distance championships? Because looking at Team Monza, they had a pretty turgid mid-season. They've really hooked it up in the last few weeks and then now sit top of the Bronze Rockets Championship, which we're going to be seeing tonight. So do you think momentum plays a factor in these long-distance championships?
Yeah, for sure. Like getting good results right after each other definitely helps, just for the long run as well. Also for the confidence, being confident that you can, win races is definitely a key factor.
Yes, the winning races always helps both in terms of the championship points and in terms of your mentality going forward. Now, we do have cars on track at this second, as we say, 10 minutes until the green flag flies for qualifying. And if you didn't join us on Monday, there is something that's probably worth pointing out to you, is that for the Bronze and Silver Rockets Championships tonight, we're reverting away from the Super Bowl format that we've seen in the regular season and moving towards just a straight 5-minute qualification session. Now, on Monday at Le Mans, that did mean we only got 1 lap. We're not entirely sure whether it's good. We're going to get 1 or 2 laps here at Spa, and obviously we'll be looking to get a few laps on Monday at Grand Valley. But then for the Golden Rockets race, the end of the evening with the top 6 teams, it is the traditional Super Bowl format that we've grown to know and love through the season, where it's just 1 flying lap, you've got to hook it up, and that sets the grid positions. Also worth noting that because we have the bottom 12 teams in action tonight, and those are the teams you see on your screen at the moment, it's only 1 car per team as well. So there's no sort of team instructions, dilemmas involving, do you let this car through, do you hold people up behind? It's just every man for themselves out on track, Pyro, and that could lead into some superb racing like we saw on Monday.
Yeah, there was some great racing, and we saw it in particular on that Bronze Rocket race. And as you brought up earlier, when you asked Kai about the momentum is entirely with Team Monza Racing right now. Garassa was in cruise control of that race on Monday at Le Mans, and he got the strategy right. Not too much to deal with the strategy today. It's more potentially inclement weather that you have to deal with, rather than figuring out whether or not it's softs or mediums to start with. But I would expect a lot more of the same once you've got that run kind of going this late into the season. It's very, very difficult to stop.
Okay, let's see if we can get on track at the moment, if that is at all possible. See if we can get production. There we are. Let's get going for the evening. And Kai, you've had a brief moment to sort of look at the teams and drivers in action tonight, both in the bronze lobby and overall on this championship. And it is absolutely a stacked lineup. Even this is supposed to be our bottom tier of teams in action tonight, but you've got a few familiar faces in there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. If you look at, for example, Garassa from Monza, I mean, I've driven with him for a couple times, quick guy. I expect him to do well for sure. And as for the other guys, I mean, everyone has got a chance, I guess, with this type of car.
Would you say it's a fairly volatile one? Difficult to control. What leads you to think that there's quite an open running tonight?
Especially on corner exits, you have to really, I guess, manage the throttle in some way. And then, of course, weather-wise, it will depend how confident you are, driving these wet lines with this type of car as well.
Yeah, no, we mentioned the weather already. We've had our strategists run the numbers, and they're perhaps a bit more reliable than the ones you're used to at the GTWS, Kai, seeing what you see on the broadcast. But we do have some of our strategists who managed to help out and give us some ideas of what we can be expecting tonight. So we've already mentioned to you it's dynamic weather. The track will start bone dry, and it's expected the floodgates are expected to spill by the end of the race. We've been told the rain tends to hit the track around lap 6, and depending on the intensity or speed, drivers could be forced to box on lap 7 or 8. The difficulty being, do you go for the inters or wets? Inters obviously will be better early on when the rain's in its preliminary stages, but as the race progresses, wets might be the shout, so it depends on how early the rain falls. That's what we're looking out for. Around lap 6 is what we've been told, but obviously with the dynamic system that we have in Gran Turismo 7, that could be just as easily be a lap either side as well. And this also does somewhat simplify tyre strategy in the dry portion, because you're only really expected to run one dry compound of tyres for the entire 5 to 6 laps, and softs are preferable to the
See me pulling up, they switching how they acting. Back then you weren't here when I was lacking. Now you want a piece of what I'm stacking. But I remember everything that happened. Keep it moving, ain't no time for all that talk.
There's a lot going on with strategy tonight. There's lots of volatility in this particular combination here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in particular, when you look at, especially with the inclement weather coming in, we expect it to be very heavy coming toward the end of the race. As you said, the decision becomes as all wets, and it's not a small pit lane. I'll give you that that to certain. It's not a small pit lane here at Spa, which means if you're going to make a decision, you can realistically only make that decision one time, because if you make it twice, you are, well, handing everyone else the 3:45 seconds realistically, and that's not how you win races when you make that kind of choice, especially if you get it wrong. And if you're on your own, as the Bronze Rockets that we're about to watch in a moment here, that decision-making process becomes a lot more difficult, because it is you alone, and if you get it wrong, you have to kind of live with it. And I would expect to see more than one person getting it wrong today. That's for certain. Kai, when it comes to racing in this kind of race with the inclement weather on your own as a having to make your own strategy, what kind of things go through your head when you're kind of just going through that change in weather?
I mean, you have to adapt quickly with this kind of weather. If it pours down, if you check your weather radar at the same time, you have to make a quick decision, especially on Spa with the long pit straight. You have to really pick your point on when to pit or when to stay out. I guess it will be also difficult for the drivers as well.
Right. Well, I think it is also worth noting, and I've forgotten to mention, there's a lot of things to cover. That's the thing that you get as a commentator in the InfinityGSeries. There's a lot of things to cover in the early phases. One of the things I did forget to mention, quite unfortunately, is the number of laps in the race. So we are running 14 laps tonight. I've forgotten to mention that. It's quite an important thing I think we should address early on. And as I say, so 14 laps are running tonight, and the rain should be hitting the track around lap 6. So give or take, obviously with the dynamic system Gran Turismo runs, we should be looking at a 50-50 split of dry and wet running, and the rain is expected to get more intense as the race goes on. If you want to have a look at the regulations for yourself and see if you can explain this to yourself better than I have, please do head to Mac25Gaming.com. All the information's on there. The regulations are publicly listed, so you can have a look at the calendar combinations. We are headed to Grand Valley next week for our curtain closer. That looks to be a phenomenal race as well. But for the moment, we're in the Audi R18 Group 1 cars tonight. Equal settings are off, I am led to believe, and it is open tyre strategy between soft and the mediums in the dry running, and intermediates and wets in the wet running. So a lot of stuff to cover with regards to strategy tonight. One of the things we've seen, and we've had guests in the commentary box who also raced in the series, is we've seen a lot of people watching the earlier on races and trying to adapt that to their strategy later on, learning from the mistakes of teams and drivers from previous perhaps. But looking at some of the cars out on track, I'm trying to see if I can recognise any names in this lineup that we saw last week. It looks like we have MSSV running for the Nexus team. They were there last week. Garassa was your race winner. at Circuit de la Sarthe on Monday for Team Monza Racing, their second consecutive race win. They managed to go one better last week and get one in the regular season as well at Abu Dhabi. Looking around the rest of the lineup, some familiar names there for Pando, running for Joker's E-Team, and we keep mentioning it, we keep coming back to it, Pyro, how difficult of a season it has been for Joker as a team that was already preceded, didn't have to come through the qualifiers, and yet they do sit comfortably bottom of the championship and were unable to pick up any points on Monday with a 10th place finish.
Yeah, and again, it's just one of those where this season, at Le Mans you said it was, I can't remember what you actually termed it as, but I think you were being a bit generous to them when you were trying to be, when you were covering them. No, this season has been an unmitigated disaster for Joker's E-Team. It's just gone from bad to worse to somehow even worse, and if I'm completely honest with you, I don't really see that changing tonight. I think Pando, is going to have a lot on his plate, and he's going to have to, well, he's going to be carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders going into this one, because they just have not got going at any point whatsoever. There are a couple more that did drive on Monday night at Le Mans. They got say. But a lot of new names for me in particular when I was going through all this, because there are some that I just simply haven't actually seen drive yet. So I'm very intrigued as to who can put a lap together, or lap or two together, because everyone's jumping to about the 2-minute mark. We might actually see teams get a second qualifying lap in as well.
Yeah, I'm really interested, Kai. Obviously, Spa, if you watch motorsport, you sort of know Spa. It's a circuit we've all grown to know and love, whether you watch open wheel racing, tour car racing, whatever it may be. In this particular car, though, and on this particular track, what does it take to get a lap together?
Yeah, definitely being concentrated for the whole lap. If you look at S1, you definitely need a very, very good exit out of T1, because it's a long way down to the next braking zone. As for S2, I guess also yeah, just being on it for every corner, be concentrated, and for the last bus stop, same as usual. Just pick your good braking point and make no mistake. Easier said than done, for sure.
Comprehensive analysis there as well. And one of the things we've seen is we're about to get qualifying underway, so a 5-minute straight session. As I was looking at your screen as well, Kyle, I have the beauty of being able to go between the screen we see on the main broadcast and Kai's screen share as well, so we can see some things in the background. Penalties played a significant part on Monday, on-track penalties that is. We didn't have many off-track actually, we kept it pretty clean, only 3 off-track penalties for collisions the entire evening, which is a very good job from most of the drivers. But on-track, we saw quite a lot of track limit penalties, and on a circuit like Spa, where the penalty zone is, it's unforgiving, and that could be a lap ruined, especially as, you know, you're coming down towards the bus stop, and indeed the corner before the bus stop, the last braking zone before the bus stop, you get quite prone to penalties. And if you pick up your penalty after the penalty zone, your entire lap gets invalidated, so that could be a lap ruin there. But we've also seen during the race as well, with the slowdown in effect, entire races be completely ruined by one minor mistake on the track limits, because on a track like La Sarthe and on a track like Spa, the track limits are pretty harsh, Pyro.
Oh yeah, they are absolutely. Well, to a driver, they're going to be absolutely infuriating. Going through tonight and what we saw on Le Mans on Monday as well. It's 2 tracks that just do not forgive. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You have to live with it, and the game will make sure you know it as well. That's a certain. We're currently on a couple of qualifying laps this week, just about to get round to the end, the final sector on the on the outlap rather. I did want to point out that we saw for the first time in the practice session there, right, as we were just about to roll over into qualifying, the race did actually start to fall about the 15-minute mark. So that's going to give us a good idea, a good indication of what to expect going forward tonight if that is going to be relatively similar between, well, it's going to be the exact same for this lobby, but for both the Silver Rockets and the Gold Rockets later as well.
Yeah, now coming
Let's see
through the bus stop now. All gone, Kai?
But I think it was me that was the one that coming up there. I was about to talk us through the first lap, but actually, with that being said, Seiko going through the source at the moment. Kai, would you like to talk us through one of the drivers' laps here?
Yeah, for sure. If you look at Seco's lap, yeah, going up to Eau Rouge now. Of course, quick, staying flat out, easy in this car, nothing to worry about. And then it's a bit of a long straight into the next braking zone, so a bit of a wait. So yeah, when you prepare yourself now for the braking zone, on the hook the inside curb, he slightly misses it, but it's fine, I guess, for the next corners. Yeah, and don't want to run wide on the left here to get dirty tires for the next corners of this one. So for the right here, staying on the inside, keep the momentum. Same here, don't really want to run wide as well. And as for Pujon, looks fine now. Keeping it flat, of course.
Going through a lot in terms of driving to it. Bus stop chicane, how are you preparing? Because obviously we're going to get more than one lap here, especially with Seiko. If you were to make, for example, make a mistake in that first lap, how are you preparing for that second lap? What's the mindset going into it?
Definitely forget the first lap. Just do like it didn't exist. And yeah, push again. Don't worry about that first mistake. I guess we're first gonna get a first lap in now from Seco and see what the benchmark will be for the other guys.
Absolutely.
Looks like it's a
yeah,
207, I think, there.
Yeah, 2 minutes 7 from Seku, a driver who's really impressed me last week specifically. He's more times coming across the line now, unable to be surpassed by either the Joker's Annexion or I believe that's Thunderlight's car, and more times coming across the line. This 2 minutes mark is looking really good until Herr Kreuzer comes over the line, 3 tenths ahead for the AGT drivers team in the turquoise. Coming through the final corner now, final few cars coming to complete their first fly, including Garassa, the race winner from from Monday at Le Mans. Can he take provisional pole? No, he can't. He splits the 2 cars out from after the first set of flying laps. It is Herr Kreuzer, a podium finisher in the regular season for AGT drivers, who has the advantage from P1, Garassa P2, Seku P3. We mentioned them earlier on. EPL have had a pretty disappointing regular season, but they picked up their first top half finish at Le Mans last week with Seku at the wheel, and he already seems to be turning it pretty well, currently sitting P3, alongside Fernando in P4 for the Joker Z team. Bit of a rarer up point for them this season, and Annexion's Vickerman rounding out the top 5, a driver who we've seen a couple of times, but the checkered flag is out now, so this will be the last flying laps for these teams.
Just going through, because I think I saw a penalty in there somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure who for. Yeah, oh, we've got a couple of people off the track here. What is going on? MSSV's got a half-second penalty, so that'll be problematic for him. I'm not entirely sure the other car that went off. I think it may have been Perry. It was Perry. Yeah. And both of them are off in qualifying, so that'll be the end for those 2 drivers in particular.
Yeah,
Garassa also with a penalty at this point.
Has a penalty as well. Garassa in P2, so he's coming up to the penalty zone, I think, although I'm not sure he's past it actually. Coming through the bus stop now, we have the Seku coming across the line. Does he able to improve on his P3 spot? No, he's 2 tenths back. Garassa will this final lap counting as he's going to be passing the penalty line, but it's not going to be good enough for anything remotely improved. As Silius comes across the line for Thunderlights to go P3, Kreuzer can improve on his provisional pole time. His Dynamic comes across the line to finish P5. Kreuzer can't improve. He's 4 tenths of a second off. This is Kimi now for the Hydra Wrench Sport team coming over the line. Can he improve from P8? Sanchez improves up to P9 for the Controller Time team. As the checkered flag is out, MSSV is going to be the last car to come around the final front corner, but he does have a penalty, so it won't be counting towards anything as he comes over the line, and indeed he will likely stay P12 and at the back of the grid. Garassa yet to come over the line, as well as Perry, but neither of those drivers will be challenging for the top times after pit spins and penalties themselves. So it is Herr Kreuzer on pole position for the AGT drivers team to kick off the evening, and he'll be joined on the front row from Monday's race winner in Garassa. What a qualifying session, and what a good omen for the AGT team, who need a good result this evening after they let the ball slip on Monday.
Yeah, it was absolutely necessary. They didn't do well at Abu Dhabi. They didn't do well at Le Mans on Monday either. So they needed to stem the tide just a little bit, and that's exactly what Cruiser has done in this qualifying session. But again, he's there and thereabouts. He needs Garassa to probably disappear behind him, given the fact that Team Monza Racing have been in control for the last couple of weeks. They won in Abu Dhabi, as you mentioned earlier. They won, obviously, on Monday, where Garassa absolutely just cruise controlled the Bronze Rockets. And now he's in position again to pick up a nice points haul for Team Monza Racing if he can end where he is, which is all they need him to do at this point.
Yeah, and
I do want to point out something. We already saw a couple of mistakes from the guys, so I guess for the race it's going to be a bit exciting if you look at this.
Especially with the dynamic weather as well. But we have the starting grid on screen, and as we say, it's Herr Kreuzer on pole position for the AGT team, and he'll be joined on the front row by Garassa. So two heavyweight championship contenders qualifying on the front row. It's going to be Sully's and P3 for the Thunderlights team, currently sitting P. Together now, so it's a really good sign for them. Dynamic in P5 for the Maniacs Revolution. For Pando, netting a top half start for the Jokers E team. Vickerman in P7 for Annexion. Kimi P8 for Hydro Rennsport. P9 will be the controller time car of Sanchez, with a bit of a disappointing qualifying actually for Deluxe Esports team. Yassetti will go from P10. They were right up there in the championship battle. I believe they were leading the championship in the Bronze Rockets start of Monday, but they finished last thanks to a penalty at the end of that race, and they now start from P10, and there are no points in the championship for P10, so they have it all to do. And then rounding out the back row of the grid, it's two struggling teams, Abitada Racing teams, Perry in P11, and rounding out the grid, we saw that mistake and penalty from MSSV for the Nexus team. But the main point of interest at the start of this race, outside of the racing itself, will be the starting tyres. It's pretty open between the softs and the mediums, Kai. But if it was you on track at the moment, when you know the rain is expected to fall around lap 6, what would you be opting for?
Definitely soft. Definitely soft. If you know the rain is coming with only 14 laps, even though the tire wear might be a bit to the high side, definitely go soft at this point. Nothing to lose, you know. When you know you might gonna pit to the wet type of tire, yeah, definitely for the softest tire compound.
Pyro, we know you've been you have a bit of a hatred for starting on soft compound tires. Do you want to present the argument against, or are you favouring with Kai this evening in this particular situation?
This situation, I'm gonna have to actually present the same argument that Kai just put forward. I know I am vehemently in the camp of starting on a medium tire, but the only argument I can see for the medium tire today is you might get unlucky in the tire. The time the rain starts to come down might end toward that toward that lap 7 time. Even then, you kind of might have to just stick that out on a soft tire, because you're just going to be bleeding time otherwise, and there's not going to be a point realistically where you get to see that the medium tires have an extended period of advantage over the softs. So yeah, I'm with Kai today. I think the softs, so you're going to have to start on the softs, and I think you have to go to a wet when that rain starts to come down as well.
Yep, we'll just having a final look before the race gets underway at the teams in action this evening. So we have just got the first initial notification from our director general Max 25 getting Alejandro Garnacho that we are about to get started with our first race of the evening at Spa-Francorchamps. 3 heavyweight championship contenders occupying the first 3 rows, and we are just first 3 grid slots, and we are just about to get underway now as the countdown begins. 2 lights out, and we get our first race of the evening underway. So on the front row, it's Herr Kreuzer for AGT on the inside, headed towards La Source. Garassa on the outside, starts P2, race winner last week, but he did make a mistake in qualifying. Is he able to hold it together when it really does matter? 12 cars on track, the light's about to go on. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And the lights out, and we're racing in the bronze rockets, and it's a good start for the AGT car out front. It's a difficult start actually for Team Monza. Cuts across the track to take the racing line, but Garassa's up the inside. Already they're side by side for P1 on exit, as all the cars behave nicely on the exit of the source. They're side by side for the hill. Garassa's Kreuzer's well wide. Garassa up the inside. He gets the move done before Eau Rouge, and it's the Team Monza car that leads early on. We have our first lead change.
Yep, it didn't take too long either, and Garassa, who's been on lightning form over the last week and a half, is going for it again. Here comes Kreuzer to fight this back, however, all the way down the Camel Straight into Lacan. Is it going to happen? He is going to be maybe a little bit of a car left in front as they hit the chicane, and Kreuzer is back into the lead with Seiko in third as well. Garassa in the middle of both of those two. The Joker's E-Team car having a bit of a mare. They head down the hill there. Not entirely sure what the plan was, but he's managed to get himself up in a 4th and survived just a little bit. Kimi looking for the inside of Sully's, and I think he may have just come to contact there, but Sully's for Thunder Light survives and continues on in 5th for now. And a little bit of fighting all the way down the grid in this first lap, Finley.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a difficult start for Sully's and the Thunderlight's team. He's dropped from P3 to P5, and that's allowed Sekou for EPLF to get up as there's a bit of a battle for P7. Vickerman getting past the fast starting control the time car of Sanchez heading holding up the rest of the pack behind them. But what a dream start for AGT, Team Monza Racing, and EPLF. The side-by-side action for P4. All the way around the outside goes Sully's to reclaim that position from Fernando, and he has it done before the bus stop. And Fernando opting not to fight that one too much. So Sully's back up into P4. Can he bridge the gap between Fernando and Sekou in P3 as we come towards the end of lap 1 at Spa? Kai, what are you seeing from your position?
It looks like the top 3 has driven a bit away right at this point. Top 3 within second at this point, and they have a 1.5 second gap to the rest of the field at this point. So yeah, a bit of a mix as well in the midfield. People bumped each other a bit on the sides. But yeah, definitely top 3 have now driven a bit away.
Yeah, they're looking to break the toe from each other as well.
Yeah, heading down towards Lacan now. No moves being made there, and Pyro looks like all the drivers are starting on softs. You and Kai were correct.
Yeah, they didn't really have much of a choice, to be honest, in this one. It's just the nature. They've all seen, if they've been paying attention, they know that the weather stays the same, so they know when the weather is coming here. It's one of the ones where maybe later on they might get a nicer, a little bit less knowledge of when that rain is going to come. But here, they've seen it in the practice session. It's going to stay the same. They know it's going to come around about that 15-minute mark, so you can plan for it. You can plan for it. It makes life a lot easier when you know what is coming, doesn't it, Kai?
Definitely. I guess at this point you may take less risk when you know when the rain is coming. So yeah, I guess for the drivers it's what you said, a bit easier.
Yeah, and one of the disadvantages, I suppose, of being in the commentary box as opposed to being out on track is we don't get access to the weather radar on the MFD that the drivers will. So we're sort of having to rely on the traditional weather forecast of sticking your head out the window and seeing if there's any grey clouds outside. So sadly, that's all we can hope for at the moment. We do have the meter. There's a move being made up the inside. Kimi and Vickerman going side by side down through the bus stop chicane. And there's a contact. There's a spin. Vickerman's round. Did he get onto the curb on the exit? Did Kimi drive him out all the way? We'll have a look at that one at the end of the race, but we'll get a look at that one now thanks to the replay feature. Vickerman going up the inside for an action. That does become the outside for the final turn. And did Kimi just drive him out all the way, or did he lose it himself, Kai? What does it look like from you?
Honestly, from my point of view, it looked like he did lose it a bit himself, honestly. Maybe he wanted to keep it on riding outside. And I guess it may be a bit too much throttle input, which spins him around, but we'll have a look at it in the replay.
We absolutely will. That's one of the benefits we have. Yeah, you want to go?
Yeah, he's gonna go for it here now. Vickerman looking for his position back, or to get at least one back that he lost in the spin just a moment ago, and he will get it on Perry pretty much straight away down the inside and toward the com, and he's now going to have to bridge that gap between him and the Maniacs team directly in front of him, who have also had a fairly poor start from, well, what was top half, I believe.
Meanwhile, we've missed the change for the lead. The cardinal sin of commentating. Garassa now up into P1 for Team Monza Racing, occupying the spot he did on Monday at Circuit de la Sarthe. He's managed to get ahead of Herr Kreuzer somewhere in the midway of that lap, heading into Le Con. At some point, I imagine that's where the move was made. But Herr Kreuzer down to second, meaning we do have our second lead change of the race. Garassa did take the lead going into turn 1 at the start of lap 1. Kreuzer was able to get it back, but now Garassa into P1, already pulling away 0.3 of a second. But Kreuzer will close that gap slightly with the slipstream. He might fancy moving to the bus stop as we head towards the final braking zone of lap 4. But it is, as things stand, Garassa in the lead. And are there any moves being made into the bus stop? No, he's a bit too far back. So P1, as things stand for the Team Monza Racing drivers. A bit of side-by-side action further back, actually. Dynamic looking to go the long way round on Yossetti, but he isn't able to make it done. That can invite Vickerman, who's had that spin, to maybe take advantage, heading towards La Source and turn 1 as we do start lap 4. This is the battle for P9. Is Dynamic going to hold the outside line? Yes, he is. Is Vickerman going to go for the move up the inside into La Source? Yes, he is. Textbook, as you like. There's a bit of oversteer on exit, bit more traction for Dynamic, and that could allow the Maniacs Revolution car back in front as we head towards Eau Rouge and Radion.
Yep, and he's managed to hang it, well, the Maniac driver's managed to hold on for now, but the problem is, holding on for now is side, and it looks like Vickerman has got it, and he's caught the Maniac driver, just a little bit of problem. Perry on the inside now, just about surviving contact. And all three of them are going hammer and tong at each other down the hill. And it looks like the Maniac driver's dropped out entirely as Perry is up in the TEF MSSV, just about hanging on. Or is he? Again, wide for Perry, and it's just a little bit of carnage at the back. Who's going to be the lead car in the back of the field here? And it looks like Perry is finally going to be able to hang on. Or is he? A little bit of a bump draft there for the Maniac driver onto MSSV, and it looks like it actually gets the Nexus driver up into P10.
And all that infighting between the back three, which adds, as a reminder, bottom 3 positions, no points in the championship. This is news to the ears of Vickerman, who's pulled away to some tune in P9 after that spin, and he can now focus all his efforts on Yossetti in front as then more moves potentially being made down the back. But as things happen, all line is stern at the moment, although Kreuzer has managed to close that gap just a bit, but he's again still a bit too far back for a move on Garassa. Kai.
Yeah, still 4 times behind. Let's see if he gets a pretty good action out of the T1 here. Maybe we can get at the end of the commentator.
Yeah, but all relatively nice and clean early on in this race. As a reminder, there's no more points for aggregate time. We did have points for aggregate time during the regular season. All that's out the window now. So this is all just fighting position. We're on lap 5 at the moment, which means from what we've been told by our strategists, we're only a lap away from the start of rainfall, and that's potentially where we could get that extra element that can make this race even more enthralling. And there's no move being made into Le Con by Kreuzer. Wasn't able to get the exit he desired next to the Team Monza Racing driver, but all behaving fairly nicely early on, Pyro.
Yeah, too nicely potentially for some of these drivers. Vickerman's up into P8, so something must have happened at the back of the grid. It is Lassetti at the back of the grid. Now, Deluxe is gone from bad to worse. It's probably a little bit too late. He got the damage, actually. It just disappeared, so it is too late to go and watch that on this replay, so we'll have to watch that again later on after the race. But yeah, Lassetti having damage in the beginning of lap 5 here, and it's dropped Deluxe all the way to the back of the grid, and what a bad time to have a bad couple of races in a row.
Absolutely, top of the championship heading into this one in the Bronze Rockets race. They were pointless on Monday after a penalty for Toto Cocco and a lap 1 incident, and they're now looking provisionally pointless here at Spa after that incident for Gseries. But the rain could bring in an external factor, which always opens itself to extraordinary comebacks, and Gseries and Vickerman will be hoping for the same as well. So there's yet more of a battle, both for the lead and further back. 3-car battle for the lead now between Garasso, Herkreuser, and Seku. He's having a phenomenal race, by the way, for EPLF. They've been nowhere the entire season. Currently sit 22nd of 24 teams in the championship, ahead only of Joker's E-Team and of Abutada Racing Team. But this has been a phenomenal race from them. They finished P6 on Monday. We thought that was a good effort from them, finishing in the top half for the first time this season. Even though this is a slightly weaker field as we lose the golden and silver Rockets cars, this is still a phenomenal effort for the team in white and green.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those times where you kind of just have to look at yourself and go, where was this the entire rest of the season? Because if you had this for the rest of the season, you're probably not in this race at this point in time. So it's one of those where it's a double-edged sword. You can look at this and go, we're in a good place, we got momentum, we can push this into next season and make a statement. Or you can look at it and go, well, we've got this, so where has it been beforehand? And it's going to be interesting to see where EPLF go from here into the next season as well. We'll see if they are able to carry on this momentum. So Garasso still holding on to the lead, 4 tenths of a second ahead of Kreuzer in second place, Seiko in third. They have well and truly dusted the rest of the field. It's about 3 seconds, almost 3 seconds to the next car. Sully's in fourth, 2.7 seconds off the back of that leading train. Kimi an extra 1.5 seconds back, so he is up into fifth with Pando in sixth, and just starting to drop off just a little bit.
Yeah.
With this being the next couple of minutes with the rain going in. Gone, sorry.
No, I was just going to say on the go.
Yeah, in the next couple of minutes, we should be seeing the rain come in. So the race.
Yeah, it looks like fuel is not gonna make it to the end. So I guess at this point you want to might be saving a bit of fuel, just just to make the end. And as for the tires, look at the state of the tires from all the guys. It's not looking that great at this point. So I guess they want to have the rain as quick as possible to might change tires.
Yeah, I think there might have been a bit of an incident further back. Apologies for that. Again, it looks like Perry for the Abutada Racing Team has dropped a bit further back, even behind the deluxe car of Gseries. So again, it's been a bit of a wretched season for the Abutada team in general, but I think things are going from bad to worse for them, and they've managed to be passed by the deluxe car. We'll get a look at the replay during that lap 6 incident for Abutada. Again, there's so much happening on track today. We're going to miss quite a bit by the looks of things. But it is Herkreuser out in front. Look at Dynamic at the moment for the Maniacs Revolution team. Again, another team that were seeded and didn't have to come through to pre-qualify this season, finding themselves in the basement battle for Bronze Rockets and not doing particularly kindly. Meanwhile, you already mentioned Pyro. It was a good move we saw on Kai's camera, actually. A good move from Kimi for the Hydro Range Sport team up the inside of Pando into the source at lap 6. And it is starting to fall back a bit for Jokers now. They have resumed their initial qualifying position of P6, but Kimi's already pulled 1.5 seconds clear of that car in P6. And it's now up to Vickerman, who we know had some pace in qualifying that got set back by that spin, who's actually managed to get past the control of the time car of Sanchez. There's a 2.2 second gap between them, and he'll be looking to reel the Joker's E-Team car in himself. So Vickerman passed Sanchez for P7, and he now has his eyes in front on the Joker's car for Pando. But it is still, I say still, Herkreuser has managed to get back past the Team Motor Racing car of Garasso, so real blows being traded between AGT and Team Monza Racing and EPLF just sitting in the background there waiting for something to happen as the clouds get ever darker. So there's a big slide for Grass actually. Could that invite Seku for a move? No, he couldn't quite get there in the end, but the clouds do get darker and rain is almost certainly on its way.
Yeah, I think it's coming this lap. We said it was about 15 minutes in when we looked at the practice. Oh, there goes his round! Oh, he's dropped the ball. He was in the lead. Let's see if we can get another look at that. I think he just made a mistake on the exit of the source with a bit too much throttle. Let's have a look. Yeah, he has. Oh, that was just a massive drop. What are you seeing there, Kai?
Yeah, this was exactly what I was talking about with the power and the throttle that you have to be you have to be careful with. And yeah, this is exactly what Corsa did. A bit too early on the power and just lost it there.
Yeah, he almost looked to try and make a move back straight away there, but not really getting it. And also, I want to point out, rain is hit.
Yeah, it is, and that has prompted some early pitters, I believe I saw, at the end of lap 7. It looks like the Joker's car for Pando came in, and I think the Controller Time car as well, and I think a couple of the stragglers at the back as well. I think maybe the Deluxe car of Yassetti has come in, so as far as I can remember, those back 3, so Joker's Controller Time and Deluxe all coming in at the end of lap 7. For the early stops and all going on to the intermediate compound tyres.
That's
we
not
see the rain
true.
meter. We see the rain meter on the left-hand side as well. Oh no, full wets as well. Actually, I do apologise. Full wet for the 2 cars behind that didn't quite clock that. So interesting to see. We have the rain meter as well as there's a move potentially being made for the lead here. Seku and Garassa about to go side by side down the back straight and towards the final bus stop chicane up the inside. And well done you if you got this on your bingo card for the Bronze Rocket season. EPLF Sim Racing lead the Bronze Rockets race, but Garassa's going to try and make a correction to that. Round the outside through the bus stop. Surely we're going to see the car peeling into pit lane. And yes, Seku does lead this race.
Yeah, all the way into the pit lane now, and that is a really good... that's opportunist from Seiko, I think, doing it right when he knew this rain was starting to come, and he absolutely had to go and do it right there and then. So what's the idea now if you're in Seiko's position, Kai?
Yeah, keep it on the track when the rain hits. And as well, yeah, to try to get away from Garassa. It will depend on, yeah, of course, the space, but also how confident you are with this type of condition.
Yeah, all the hitters on this lap in particular, I think, going on to full wets, which means, again, it's been a bit of a volatile season for the Jokers team, and they're on the only any sign of stopping, but it does look like the car has the pace as Kimi just coming out of the pit lane and getting past there with the overspeed from the Jokers car. But they are on the alternate strategy now. They do have an incredible livery, I must say, as they go side by side further back. Kimi and Vickerman up the inside. That's going to become the outside. He has to find a way to somehow stop himself. Went really deep there. They're going to continue their run side by side past us now. Elacom, I should say. They're still side by side, Kimi and Vickerman. This is an enthralling battle list for P6. Vickerman might have some extra traction on the outside, just potentially, which does become the inside for this next turn as we look to head down the hill towards Puon. They're still side by side. This is incredible racing between the pair. Vickerman forcing Hydra Kimi the long way round. You pick up the inside line for Puon, and he will hold that position there. But for Pando on the alternate strategy, and that rain is not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon.
No, it's not. But the problem for everyone else is it's only going to go for 5 or 6 laps, and right now it's only at halfway on the bar. So it is perfect intermediate tyre wear. Intermediate tyre kind of condition that you want to be in. Obviously, we know it's going to get a little bit heavier for here on out. So the real question now is, has Pando got enough time to last on that intermediate tyre to do some damage? What do you think, Kai?
Yeah, it will depend on how hard the race is going to hit at the end of the race. Looking at now, he already made up 3 seconds on the leaders in this lap alone. So it will definitely depend, yeah, on how hard the rain is going to hit.
Yeah, Jokers are a team that have been in need of something, anything, through the entire season. Could this be a complete masterstroke from Furpando, or going on the intermediates when everyone else was on? That being said, he's gone very wide into the source turn 1 there. And could that signal the start of the ideal weather conditions for the wets? You might just see on the rain meter on the left-hand side of the MFD, we're coming up to that second intermediate bar now, and you'll note that the tip of the meter has just gone dark blue there. That does mean, as far as I can remember, it's ideal conditions for the wet compound tyres. There's going to be a move made up front. Round the outside goes Garassa into Lecombe. I keep getting those corners mixed up. He has gone very deep. Seku's round the outside now, and he does manage to hold the position. Could Kreuzer come back on Garassa himself? No, he can't. But drama here. But this is good for Seku, as Kreuzer's gone very wide himself. Everything's happening now, and it looks like the wet compound tyres are the way to go.
Yep, the gear's starting to kick in now, you can tell. And Sully is right there for a battle for the lead, which I don't think you would have had on your bingo card either. So Seiko and Sully just playing a little bit of spoiler for the rest of this race. Cruiser's going to have to just hang on for a split second longer here, and you can see that the rain is just starting to force the errors at the beginning of this lap, and now into the middle of this lap on lap 10 is where everyone is starting to struggle. Sully to the inside. Sully's had himself alongside, and that might push Kreuzer out just a little bit too much. Sully's getting a little bit return to the favour potentially on the exit of the chicane there, and that'll keep Kreuzer's position for now.
Yeah, and it looks like Furpando's starting to drop back quite a bit into the clutches of Vickerman behind, but we'll continue with this battle out front. Battle for first between Seku and Garassa. Battle for third between Kreuzer and Sully's. This is incredible racing as Vickerman does eventually get by Furpando for P5 down that back straight. Heading towards the bus stop. This is where everything can bunch up. 4 cars in the battle for the race lead. Seku hard defending the inside line. Kreuzer from absolutely nowhere, trying to force his way around the outside. What a move from the AGT car. It came absolutely nowhere, and Garassa's been passed by Sully's as well. Kreuzer to the outside, Seku to the inside. They're going to go 3 wide, heading into turn 1. Sully's on the extreme inside line. Seku in the middle, Kreuzer on the outside. This is phenomenal. Garassa's sitting back there trying to force his way in, but it's looking like from absolutely nowhere at the back end of that lap, Kreuzer has the race lead heading into Rouge and Radion. Phenomenal racing.
Absolutely, absolutely incredible racing. Again, Kreuzer just getting off the racing line. And this is where this is an interesting situation for me in particular. And what I'm going to ask you here, Kai, is what kind of line do you want to take as we see Seku? Just hold on 1 second. And as we see Seku try and make a move there, I think he just had something on Sully's and tried against Kreuzer, but failed. No! There's someone off the track, and I think that might be Sully's. It is Sully that's off the track, and that now gives me the opportunity to ask the question I was going to ask, is which kind of line do you want to be? Do you want to be on the traditional racing line here, or do you want to be kind of off it at all times?
Like coming into the corner, you want to be a bit of the middle, and then like right before the entry, you want to be just on the traditional racing line. It's a bit different than other games, but yeah, on GT it's like this.
Kreuzer has managed to pull out a massive gap, 1.4 seconds from the last time I saw it. Now 1.5 to Seku in P2, and it looks like he did have the pace on that wet compound tyres. He managed to find his way past the EPLF and Team Monza racing car, fending off a battle from Sully's initially behind us. Seku himself is pulling away quite a bit now from Garassa. We could finally be able to see an established hierarchy between the top 3 runners, but it is looking like pole position for the win at the moment. Kreuzer, as we head through the bus stop to start lap 12, but all things pointing towards a win for AGT as things stand. But as the late great Murray Walker once said, anything can happen in InfinityGSeries, and it usually does.
It just caught me off guard just a little bit there with that comment at the end. But yeah, no, absolutely still a long way to play for. The rain doesn't mean anything is certain. But if you're Kreuzer, you're probably driving just a little bit safer at this point in time to make sure that you can keep things up and running for the rest of the race. So we're going a little bit further back, see if there's any sort of battles heading down the grid. We've got Kimi and we've got Fapando here. So Kimi's going to come and fight this back. Fapando, obviously, we saw earlier on, be a little bit in trouble with the fact that the rain has got a lot heavier than what he would like it to be. And he might be under fire again here. The top half finish is very much looking like a struggle. Kimi to the outside now, backing all the way on the outside, having to dummy the way through, but he's still under fire, and Fapando is doing an excellent job defending, and I'm not entirely sure how he managed to hold on to that.
No, very, very impressive. He's really fighting like a Trojan out there. I mean, it does look like a matter of when and not if Kimi's able to make the pass. There's a penalty a bit further back for Dynamic in the Maniacs Revolution car. So again, those penalties perhaps coming into effect. And I'm just looking at my mini-map and we're seeing a couple of cars further behind. And that is Gseries and Perry. I think that might have been due to the earlier instance of us saying that. Perry's really struggling. There's going to be side-by-side Kimi on Fapando through Puan. And he does eventually get the move done. As I said, it looks like a matter of if, when and not if. And Kimi for Hydro Range Sport, who had a very good start to the season, but sort of tailed off towards the end and now find themselves in this basement battle, have been able to get past and what looked to be a bit of a harebrained, master stroke of a strategy from Fapando, really turning out badly at this point for them now. And they took a big gamble. Joker Z team needed something this season. They thought this was the way forward. Clearly, it's not working out for them, and they're now going to be under threat from Dynamic behind in the Maniacs Revolution car. But looking down the rest of the pack, Gseries and Perry further back as well. The Herr Kreuzer out front is completely checked out. 2.5 seconds now ahead of Seku, still holding very well in P2 as we start lap 13 of this one with Garasa P3. Sully's has managed to close that gap quite well, actually. Now only 0.3 of a second behind Garasa in the battle for P3. That's a Spartan effort from the Thunderlights car, given that mistake he made only a couple of laps ago to get back in this fight for P2, which Seku does still hold the position of. But Sully's looking really racing in particular now. But one thing we can see, that gap only 3 seconds now between Kreuzer and Seku out front. It looks for love and money that it is the AGT driver that has the outright pace on this track. Kai, what are you seeing?
At this point, I guess it's settled a little bit. No big fights at this point in the race. What can I say?
There's not an awful lot going on. Everyone is just starting to spread, as you said. I want to ask the question, realistically, when you're in this situation as a driver, what's the nuances about the rain in GT7 that someone of your level, in particular, like the GT World Series, is going to pick up that a normal driver is not going to be able to pick up?
Yeah, definitely. The different types of driving lines on the rain. On GT, it's quite difficult-ish rain-wise. But I have to say, with this car as well, the four-wheel drive, it makes it a little bit easier.
Oh, sorry to bump in for a minute there. I think, Garasa just under fire there from Sully. That thin contact forced Garasa off the track. I'm not entirely sure if someone had a better view of that, but I saw
really deep, and Garasa was kind of forced his hand here, and that means Vickerman now is going to have a chance from out of nowhere. Remember, he spun earlier on in this race. The Anexion driver was well behind, and now he's going to have a chance to fight for P4 as a result of that mistake. He's well in front of them now, side by side towards the bus stop. Garasa has the inside line. Vickerman trying to work his way round the outside. Clever cut off there from Garasa, though. Although he might have a bit of oversteer on exit, that could invite the Anexion car to go side by side and maybe get this moved on before the braking zone towards the source as we start the final lap of this race. He holds the inside line well. Garasa trying to feed his way round the outside, maybe get the switch back, but Anexion sticking that car to the racing line expertly, and Vickerman has managed to get the move done and move his way up into P4, but his race really starting to fall apart now for Team Monza Racing. The race winners last week and the week before that, they're really struggling now at this point as they continue to fight for P4. There's a penalty a bit further back for Pepando, whose race goes from bad to worse as he's passed by Dynamic, but meanwhile further up, they're still side by side between between Garassa and Vickerman, the battle for P4. Garassa with the overspeed, using the slipstream to get the move on. That being said, he's gone really deep there into Lacom, and could that invite Vickerman back up the inside towards the next sequence of corners for the move? This is fantastic racing, Kai.
Yeah, crazy racing at this point. On the last lap as well. Yeah, let's see if Garassa can still make a move on into the final few corners of this race.
And it looks like there's a battle further up as well for P2. Seku has done an incredible job of holding that position through this race, but it's looking like Sully's. We've seen he had the pace to recover from his incident and get past Garassa. He's now in a prime position to make the move on the EPLF driver for P2. Sully's for Thunderlights all the way around the outside. Seku does force him the long way round into that combination of corners. Very difficult to get the move done there, and Seku does take advantage of that to find a bit more pace on the exit, although both drivers have missed the apex a bit. They're not ideal racing lines out front. Meanwhile, it's looking like it is going to be a race win for Herr Kreuzer. 4 seconds clear of the car in second. We'll keep with this battle between Seku and Sully. There's a spin for Pando further back. We'll get to that in a moment, but all eyes on this battle for P2. Seku, Sully's the two cars fighting for the second position of this race, heading towards the bus stop for the final time. Herr Kreuzer is going to come around the final corner and win this race. Who's going to take home P2? Is it going to be Seku? Is it going to be Sully? Sully has the speed on the exit, but it's Seku who's going to hold it over the line for a first podium of the season for EPLF Sim Racing. What an effort. Vickerman does get past Garassa for P4, so he'll come home P5. Hydra Ren Sports Kimi will come home P6. It'll be Dynamic in P7 for Maniacs Revolution. For Pando, went on the intermediates, he gambled, he's done well to hold it together for PA. There's a big slide for MSSV on the exit of the final corner, and he can't quite get it done with Sanchez in P9 for control of the time. And then we have the last two cars yet to cross the line. Both had incidents through the race. Yasetti in P11 for the really struggling Deluxe Esports team at this moment in time. They were championship leaders heading into Monday. They're now going to sit well behind with back-to-back pointless finishes in the Bronze Rockets. And Perry, it's just been a bit of a comedy of errors for the Abitana car. He'll come home a distant P12, nearly 30 seconds back from his nearest competitor. But guys, what a race. So Kreuzer dominant out front, but spare a thought for EPLF Racing, Sim Racing Seku with a phenomenal P2 finish.
Absolutely, that kind of race just flipped on its head when the rain came, and you could tell straight away how that was going to change, because you had, well, Kreuzer was not particularly threatening out front before the rain started to fall, and then when the rain started to fall, he switched into a completely different gear. And when you have that completely different gear, then you become a very, very hard driver to beat, as Kai himself would definitely know from the World Series. I would basically say that Kreuzer had done everything AGT would have wanted him to do today, Kai.
Yeah, especially in the last couple of laps. It was pretty fighty at one point. But yeah, in the end, Seku just managing to stay ahead of Celis.
Yeah, and let's take a look at that finishing order for our second race of the Bronze Rockets playoffs. So it is a first win of the playoffs and of the season for AGT driver Herr Kreuzer with a phenomenal effort. All the way by Sully's in P3 for the Thunderlight Sim Racing team. We can keep a look at that. No, we cannot at the moment. Just get cut off. But that is your top three as things stand. And we'll get to the replay at the moment. One of the things we do here on the English broadcast stream is we do keep a note through the race of any incidents or battles that caught our eye. I do have my eye on one in particular, a couple of incidents I've noted in the chat, so we'll try to get them to you as soon as possible. That is confirmation of our podium. So P1 for the AGT driver's car of Herr Kreuzer, P2 for the EPLF Sim Racing car of Seku, and P3 for the Thunderlight Sim Racing car of Sully's. I think we're just about to get the replay up, and I'll tell you, we can have a look at the race start initially. I think that's where most commentators tend to like to start on these debriefs, and then we'll get stuck into some other incidents through the rest of the race. Kai, are you on the replay? Can you see Pyro's screen?
Let me have a look.
Oh wait, hold on. You got the
I think
replay
we're
up
meant to be
yourself,
on
haven't
Kite.
you?
Yeah.
I'd say we're meant to be
Yes.
on Kite's screen, I think, at this point.
All these technical stuff really getting on my nerves. Are you on the screen now, Pyro?
I have the replay up. Yes.
Okay, we'll see if we can get to the replay at the moment, because he does have the race start loaded up. See what we can do here.
See if,
I can try
see if
stalling for
Alpha's
time
paying
whilst
attention.
all this is working out by having a look at our next race of the evening, the Silver Rockets action coming to you. We have the position 7 to 12 in the team's championship in action. And some very heavy hitters, actually, the likes of Customs GT, Elite Racing Squad, Owls Esports, all in action. Thank you to our producer Al for getting that up for me for my benefit. But it is Customs GT at the moment that do lead that championship, with Charles, who's been one of my drivers of the season, taking home the win on Monday at Circuit de la Sarthe. Meanwhile, Elite Racing Squad just 1 point ahead of Owls Esports in P2 in that championship, or P8 overall, as their downfall continue after a difficult race on Monday for the team that did lead this championship after rounds 2 and 3. And then it's sort of segregated into 2 tiers of Silver Rocket. So that's your front 3 fighting for the title. And they have Avalon Motorsport, Alien Motorsport, and Mighty Esports fighting for the 3rd to 6th positions in that particular bracket. That's coming up. Are you on the screen now, Pyro?
I mean, it's supposed to be Kai that's supposed to be in it. I don't
Yeah, no,
actually have this
are
replay.
you on Kai's screen is what I'm saying.
Give me 1 second. I can be. You see, that's the thing. I can be. Here we go. Got it sorted.
Awesome, and then
We're
I'm
good.
sure now that Pyro's on Kai's screen, we can get the broadcast set up so we can go back to full screen view, and Kai can take us through the race start.
Yeah, let's first look at the race start. We saw a very nice move from Garasa onto P1 here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, if you look here, beautiful move. A bit of a fighty argy-bargy here between Solis and some of the other guys.
Yeah, what I'm intrigued to have a look at perhaps is that move, that race start for Sully, because he fell back quite a bit actually. He did start further up. I think he actually dropped back to 6th by the end of that opening lap. We'll actually see here for Pando going for the move and really using the slipstream there, Kimi, to go and get by. Does he go around the outside into the com? What a move that is if he's able to keep it together, because I did think Kimi did manage to get by, so he's maybe no, he didn't actually. But yeah, for Pando managing to get by for the Joker's car, surely looking for a move. I think there might have been a bit of contact there as well, but that sort of set the 3 cars out in front, that little battle there. I think for Pando really holding up the rest of the pack behind with that great race start, and that really allowed the 3 cars out in front to pull away and take advantage, certainly in the dry phase of this race. Now, for the next, I noted down a couple of incidents, and one of the things I wanted to have a look at, if we skip maybe forward to lap 5 and have a look at the Deluxe Esports car, which is who was it? Who was it again? That was running for Deluxe. It was Nazzetti, was it not?
Lassetti, yeah, it was Lassetti.
Yeah. So let's see.
It was. I think it was about 5 or 6 lap 5 or 6 here, wasn't it? Not for Lassetti.
I've got lap 5 noted down, and then I had the average for Lassetti looking for the Deluxe Esports team. They've got the black, blue, and yellow livery. So we scroll down a bit further back. Maybe the incident's already taken, but no. Okay, here he is. Yeah, P9 as things stand for Lassetti. And Pyro, maybe you can take us through, and we can see if we can find out what happened on lap 5 for the car.
That's very evident what happened. He is just completely lost at the top. How do you even manage that in this car? As Kai said earlier on, I think he was trying to go round. I think he was trying to go around Cabrera there on the for trying to get 8th position. You'll get a second look at this from the inside of the car. I think he is just jumping Oh, he might have just
just
cut
on the curb.
inside.
Just on
Yeah.
the curb and then spin it around. Yeah, unlucky.
And that kind
A
of
bit-
ruined Deluxe's race, didn't it? We spoke about them being big championship contenders on Monday, and then a penalty for Toto Coco at Le Mans, and now that incident at Spa today for Lassetti. Things going from bad to worse for Deluxe and potentially the Bronze Rockets title derailing from their hopes after a bit of a dismal Monday night. They followed that up in similar fashion. The only other incident I had on my docket at the moment was lap 6, or only a lap later, and it's car in P11 at the moment for Abitada. Perry, I think, had that incident in lap 6. So we can maybe skip forward to then and see what happened in regards to that, because that allowed him, I think, to even fall further behind the Deluxe car behind him, or I'm not sure if that was actually just pure pace, because he is quite some way behind the other cars. I'm not quite sure who that is in P10, because we've got display names rather than usernames in P10 with the replay system. But actually, looking at the delta for the car in front and the car behind, I actually think that might have just been pure pace for Perry. Bit of a disappointing race for the Abitada Racing Team, currently 23rd in the championship, and with Joker's E team picking up points, that gap might well shorten heading to Grand Valley on Monday. And yeah, it does look like Lassetti's actually going to get the pass on Perry. So my apologies to the Abitada team. I thought there was some form of incident, but in actuality, it was more of a pace-related thing that Lassetti was maybe able to catch him and get the move done up the inside before the penalty line. No, he bides his time. He'll probably get the move done down the back straight here. That was the only two incidents I had in general. Just really clean racing, actually. Some phenomenal battles out front. But I think we could both agree, guys, a well-deserved race winner in the AGT car of Herr Kreuzer.
Yeah, there definitely was. There was one more between Sully and Garassa. I think it was like 12 or 13. That was about when it was fully in the rain at the second chicane in sector 2. That we kind of caught on stream, but it was more of a better look would be ideal, and then we can get to see if the Silver Rockets have managed to get themselves up and running. I mean, there's also a nice little race replay of Sully getting himself involved. This front four was absolutely insane for a very small period of time before incidents for multiple drivers, actually, I believe, if I remember right. Caught this one a little bit short and allowed Kreuzer to get off ahead. But we'll just have another look at this from Sully in particular. I believe he actually hit himself into the top 2 off the end of this. Says Kreuzer moving to the outside. Sully just making his first move on Garassa and then drops to the inside here with the 3 wide. And look at that, 3 wide in the rain, and that's just where Kreuzer gets away from it now. That exit has just absolutely put Kreuzer in prime position to hold on from here.
Oh, you are a natural-born TV director. You picked the perfect angle for that 3-wide battle from the point of view of Garassa behind, who's basically just the passenger in this battle out front. And I'm surprised. It genuinely amazes me from the perspective of a B-rated DR driver like myself, how all 3 of these...
There we go.
Oh, that's Sully into the hole. Did he just leave and just got trapped? I think Finley just left. Hold on. I have to double check this 1 second. Are you back, Finley?
Yes. Okay. Me. What I was going to say is, from the perspective of a B-rated DR driver, how they're all able to keep it on track is beyond me. Because I guarantee if I went into sport mode right now and tried racing like that, I'd be into the barrier. I can assure you of that. But whilst my brief departure was happening, I believe we did miss the move being made by Sully, because he's now dropped.
So with a couple laps before he made his own mistake going into the exit of Lacombe, just getting a little bit too much on the throttle, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely correct. Just a bit too much on the throttle with this type of weather will spin easily, just like we saw.
Yeah, especially with heat weather, the throttle on this car usually a bit finicky at best of times and pure dry in the wet. I reckon that issue gets amplified by certain orders of magnitude.
Yeah, more likely than not. And then you were right in saying, I think it was heading into this complex of corners actually, maybe a lap later down the line. It was the set two between Garassa and Sully's Monza Racing and Thunderlight. So I think maybe we can skip a lap 4. We can see if we can catch that incident for the Italian and Spanish drivers respectively. Is this it? Is it, or
Maybe another lap.
maybe
Because
another
they do
lap?
come together. As I say, they do come together on that corner you actually managed to stop on. Um,
I do remember. I remember it very clearly. It did happen.
there it is.
Okay, here we
All right,
are.
here we go. Here we
Kai,
go.
you can maybe take us through this one.
Let's
Yeah,
have a
let's
look.
see. Yeah, Sully broke at the for his point, like the perfect point. But of course, at that point of the track, the rain is a bit heavier. Like there's less grip on the inside here, which makes his car go, wider into the car of Carassa. Which results that he gains the place, but yeah, Carassa gets pushed wide out of the track.
Right, and that really did affect the battle for P3. Garassa did slip even further behind, actually, and that basically solidified that top 3. Now, we're just getting the notification from production that qualifying for the Silver Rockets race is about to begin. So thank you very much, Kai, for that debrief on the goings-on in the Bronze Rockets race. But I think now the lobby is open for the Silver Rockets race, so we can just head over to that very briefly for now.
Yep, I'm loaded into it now.
Oh, absolutely. I can assure you my other co-commentators are here. There's Kai, and there's Pyro, as if nothing ever happened. And
All good.
We
we
definitely
could-
didn't spend too long on this.
we could now take a look maybe a bit more in depth at our Silver Rockets teams this evening. Now, we've seen earlier tonight the Bronze Rockets. We have 12 cars on track for 12 drivers. Now we only have 6 teams, so that allows us to go back to the regular format we all know and love of having 2 drivers on track per team. So you see the 6 teams in action in front. Owls Esports Customs GT, who are currently leading this championship. Owls Esports, who were the leaders heading into Circuit de los but dropped back 2 positions. Thank you for bringing up the standings for me. Elite Racing Squad currently sitting second in that battle, just a point ahead of Owls, so still all to play for in that regard. And then it's kind of been segregated, I suppose, into 2 groups of 3, because further back we have Avalon Motorsport, former GT Pole B champions. Of course, those are in the days of Jose Serrano being in that team before he moved over to Falcons. Alien Motorsport with Mehdi Fidi's team being in P11, and he's in action tonight for the team, as you'd expect. And then rounding out that battle in P12, my team Esports, who really did sneak in through the back door and have nothing to lose. They currently sit 40 points off of Alien on 179. That's not my bad maths, by the way. My spreadsheet with the official standings is telling me that Alien are on 219, but the drivers' the team standings tell me that Alien are on 213, so I'm not quite sure what one's correct there. But heading into tonight, we can really see the quality of some of the teams, even for the second run of our series here in the Silver Rockets. Pyro, what are you looking out for tonight in regards to this battle?
I'm intrigued because obviously I was talking with Marty on this on Monday night, and we were both very intrigued to see how the Alien team would do, in particular Mehdi, because we both had a very keen eye on him, both know him very well. And that fell flat on its face very quickly. I would assume, I would like to assume that's probably not going to be the case today. I think this is probably going to end up well for Alien. I think they are probably going to be the team to beat, but at the same time, I still wouldn't discount teams like my team who have figured it out over the last couple of weeks, and we were talking about momentum. Momentum is massive. So if they can continue that momentum, there'll be a problem. There'll be a spoiler at some point in this session if this goes Goes
Now
right for them.
qualifying is about to get on the for us, so we can get qualifying on May. There he is, and we'll wish our producer Alf good luck as he is about to go and race for Owls Esports. But one of the aspects I think you can maybe comment on for me here, Kai, is we now go from one driver per team to two drivers per team. With regards to that team dynamic, obviously you're racing for Vitality at the moment, the team not in the InfinityGSeries. Although if you want to change that, do feel free to speak to me after this stream is finished. Looking at the team dynamic, I'm not sure if this is a general thing that maybe you and your teammate will be in a voice call on Discord discussing tactics, or what do you tend to do when you're lining up alongside your teammate?
Yeah, definitely for a race with your teammate, it's definitely you have to strategize as well before the race as during the race together, and of course work together. That's the main part with being in the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen teammates come to blows a couple of times this season, actually. One of the instances I remember most vividly is Mount Panorama, second round of the season. The two alien drivers, actually, who are in this split, in a battle with the two Azteca cars for the race win. And Maka went right into the back of Medi and cost Frenchman, former world champion, a potential shot at the race win. So team dynamics really are an important part of racing here at the InfinityGSeries, and we're back to the tried and tested method of having two drivers per team on track, which means it is all to play for. Out front at the moment, we're looking at Gonza, the driver for Owls Esports, and further back, actually, I think the last driver to come across the timing line will be his teammate, Mr. Owl. So we're in a bit of an Owl sandwich at the moment, but it will be Gonza who will set the first flying lap. Behind him, it's the Avalon Motorsport car of Edu Max, followed by the Customs GT car of Sigma. One of the drivers in particular I've got my eye on this evening is the car currently 7th in the running order for Customs, Charles, who's been one of my drivers of the season, so we'll keep an eye out on him. He likes to run on the pad, and that's certainly becoming a bit more of a regular habit, I suppose. We've seen in the Gran Turismo World Series, Callum Moxon managed to qualify for Subaru in the Manufacturers' Cup despite running on the pad typically, so he had to get adjusted to the weird setup, and that's something Chelsea has to do whenever he comes to GT Pulpy. So we'll keep an eye on that. But out front, it is the Owls car of Gunza, who's heading up Eau Rouge and Radion, now down towards the back straight towards Lake Com on his first of two flying laps in this qualifying session, Tyler.
Yeah, let's have a look at his lap.
Yeah, just going through that first sector with Gunza at the moment. What are you picking up that different from the first that Bronze Rocket race that we saw? What are you seeing that's already different, Guy?
Yeah, it's a bit more tiny, the lap, you know, it's in the apex a bit more than other guys, being a bit more early on the throttle, also not spinning the front tires because it's a four-wheel drive, this car, so you don't really want to slide it at that much, but also you want to, you know, have a great exit, and as you can see, just keeping a bit more tidy to the inside of the corners.
Yeah, it's fairly evident when you come through some of these corners. Guns are obviously going to be the higher end of the schedule today, I reckon, in this Silver Rockets. So what are we looking at realistically? So we saw the 2 minutes, mid 2 minutes for pole time in the Bronze Rockets. What are we looking at realistically for pole time here, do you reckon, Guy?
For sure in the 59s. I'm not sure if there will be any 58s in the Silver League. I guess we will see and find out.
Yeah, Gunza around the bus stop chicane. See if the benchmark time can be anywhere around that 59 region that Kai's just spoken about. 2 minutes still a respectable enough time. Gunza does come across the line, set 2 minutes 4. Edumax unable to breach that with a 2 minutes 7. Sigma can get over with a 2 minutes 9. They're going slower each time. Elite Racing Squad finally do bring some order to the situation up into P2 with Nixo and P4 for Alex. Medi and Phoebe over the line into provisional P2. And then we see the likes of Punisher, Chouse over the line as well into P6. Bit of a disappointing start so far there for Customs, as the two My Team cars unable to get themselves off of the foot of the table. Black over the line, the Colombian driver swapped into P9, Glia into P8 for Avalon, and then over the line now Mr. Ralph for Owls unable to get outside of the top 10. So at the moment, after the first run of flying laps, as the checkered flag is about to fly any moment, it's the first car over the line. Gunza on provisional pole by less than a tenth to second from Medi and Fidi in P2 for Alien as the checkered flag does fly here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, it's been a very good first. Was no name, but it's definitely going to get picked up by the game if you go onto the AstroTurf there, and that's exactly what Gunza did, and that will be essentially any chance of his qualifying improving not really going to materialize. We'll go to Eddie Max next then, because he's the next one closest to the line, see if he can potentially improve. If he's going to get a pole position here, he's going to have to find probably the upside of 4/10. That is not what he's doing right now. He's currently down a quarter second as we go through the final sector into Blanchemont and through the bus stop chicane is all that's left. As we go through with the Avalon driver, needs to find a lot of time. Going to getting out of the way, because obviously he had the penalty and his qualifying lap is very much dead on arrival. Edu Max to the line now then. Let's see if there's going to be improvement. It's Sigma after that. Edu Max not really doing much of anything. Sigma, the next one over the line. Again, no real improvements. No one really finding much time whatsoever. Medi, is there going to be a pole position time? No, there isn't. He's slower again. No improvements at all in the second set of laps. Charles gets into a very slight improvement into a 0.95, I think that is. Punisher up in the 8th. Defcon goes into 5th. My team getting themselves in a nice little position. Black getting 1 and 4. Gilly at 0.8 there, puts himself up in the 6th. And Mr. Alf pushing himself all the way up in the 7th there. Our producer getting himself just outside the top half. Right at the end of the session for Out Esports, and they probably would wish you could call the race there. They might be the one drawing the most points out of this so far.
Yeah, one thing I'd very briefly, before we take us through your starting grid, I'd like to revert back to from what I've seen in this qualifying session. Kai, about that prediction that we'd see lap times for sure in the 1:59s. Do you have any comment on that?
I might have been a bit too optimistic about the lap times that these guys do.
Answer like a professional. Well done. But it is Gonzo on pole position for Owls Esports. 2 minutes 4 is the best lap time we've seen in this session, despite having a penalty through second flying lap. He does take home pole position. Medi and Fidi will go from P2 for Alien Motorsport with a 2 minutes 5. Nixo taking home a good result in P3 for the Elite Racing Squad, one of the teams in the battle for the championship in the Silver Rockets. The other main team in the battle for the Silver Rockets Championship, Customs GT, pretty poor qualifying session. Charles has been their best driver this season. He'll go from P9, and Sigma will only go from P11. So they need to pick up points and fast. They're currently in the prime position to take home the Silver Rockets Championship, but they'll have to do it from quite far back if they're to win it tonight. Looking at the rest of the teams, you've got Avalon Motorsport in there as well. Edumax from P4, and Black, the Colombian driver, will start from the back of the grid, unable to really string a lap together and breach the 2 minutes with a 2-minute 1:4. My team, Punisher, pretty poor from him going from P10, but what a lap from Defcon. The Scottish driver, because we need a bit of Scottish representation in here, he'll go from P5. But that is the grid as we're about to get going for our second race of the evening. As the notifications come in from Alejandro Garnato that we'll be getting this race any moment underway, any moment now.
Cross Finley to find the Scotsman. But yeah, Defcon done a very good job. I'd like to point out there's only 10th, 10th and a half, all the way from 5th down through 11th in Sigma. So there's not really a lot of margin for error at all in that mid-pack. A little bit more going forward. I also want to pick up, did Gunza do a better lap than Garassa? Because Garassa, if I remember right, also did a 0.4. in that first bronze rocket race. I know equal conditions obviously off, but I don't know if he actually managed to beat that time in the end.
I'm going to find it now because I've got the live stream up on my laptop very handily. See if we can find that. You guys talk amongst yourselves whilst I do find that.
Alright, fair enough. Fair enough. He's going to go try and spend a lot of time figuring out.
Here we are.
That was quick.
Yeah, it was. So, 2 minutes point 444 for Gonza, 2 minutes point 448 for Herr Kreuzer. So the fastest pole time at the moment for the Irish driver. Now, it is worth noting that unlike the regular season, because we're split into our playoff divisions, fastest pole time overall doesn't matter because we're in 3 separate divisions now. But just from a sporting point of view, in the Bronze Rockets race, and of course, he went on to take the race win. So that isn't a good moment for the Owls driver who won a race at Mount Panorama earlier this year in round 2. I don't know what is.
It's a good omen, that's a certain. We'll see if that will translate over as well. I just want to go back to that gap between 5th and 11th, right? So, I'm coming to you here, Kai. You've got, what, 6, 7 drivers in that period, in that space that separate by a 10th and a half. How do you deal mindset-wise, knowing that the grid is just that close together?
Yeah, just reset for the race. Even if you're like only half a tenth behind, it will be like 3 or 4 position at this point. So yeah, for the race as well, just working with your teammate, try to move forward.
That is going to be good. The case, yeah, the teamwork is going to be pivotal here. If teams can manage to do it, because there's no actual teams, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Maddie is out of the session. I don't think we're starting anytime soon as a result. So we're going to have to kill a little bit more time while we figure out what has happened to Medi here. But yeah, teamwork is going to be fairly important. And I don't actually know. I don't think there's any teams that are actually right beside each other. Obviously, Avalon are the closest that what will be 4th and 6th when Medi gets back in, if Medi is able to get back in. So I wonder if that's going to be our main source of the teamwork today, or whether or not people are going to try and pick up help from another team.
Yeah, really interesting. Apologies, just shifting my camera around there. Really intrigued to see what's going on with Medi there. We've just had a message in the lobby chat from an alien teammate, Black, the Colombian driver, asking just to hold on for the moment. Really interesting to see, and indeed, I think we are going to have a bit of delay as Garnata returns the lobby to practice mode, because after qualifying is finished, you can't really jumble about the grid. So once Medi does rejoin the lobby, Garnata is going to have to sort of arrange a manual grid for this race, which will see Medi resume his original qualifying position, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to race. So we'll keep an eye on what's happened. Also worth noting that I think Nixo, the Elite Racing Squad driver, is backed out of the race as well, as things stand. So a bit of issues for some drivers out on track at the moment. It's not unlike Polyphony servers to have these issues, that's all I'm going to say on the matter, but it does allow the other drivers to get a bit of free practice time and maybe start turning some racing laps. Actually, in fact, that actually gave us a good idea of what the starting tyres for certain drivers will be, because they were stuck to their tyres they selected to start the race. So the 2 customs cars, as well as Edgy Max, were initially going to start on the medium compound, as well as the Avalon car of Gear and the Alien car of Black. Extremely interesting to see, given everyone in the Bronze Rockets race started on softs.
Yeah, that just confuses me, if I'm completely honest with you. I don't really see the need to start on the medium tyre. We were talking about it earlier, weren't we, Kai? The medium tyre is not necessarily needing to be used unless they spent a decent chunk of time. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind indeed, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah, talking about the tires, I have to say, looking at the tire wear of the first race we saw, end of lap 7, it did like the software, like almost completely gone at the end of the race. So maybe for some of the guys, they don't feel comfortable running the soft tires going to the end to lap 7. So they may just want to take it safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before we resume our lobby, obviously technical difficulty ongoing at the moment, though. You won't have seen it because we're not on full screen on the stream, obviously, but Alejandro has just had to close the lobby. So whilst we wait for that to reopen, let's take you through seamlessly our final race of the evening, the Golden Rockets event with our top 6 teams in the regular season championship going head to head. And the main headline is that 92 Esports have a very, thank you Alf doing the God's work here whilst he's supposed to be racing, very impressive. The headline is that if 92 Esports are able to get that gap to 60 points ahead of P2, they win the championship with a race to spare, which would be the first time in series history that's ever happened. After a phenomenal race for them on Monday, 1-2 finish, all the teams around them fell apart. Team to usurp 92 at the top of the standings are Freem, who currently sits second. The headline is that if Freem outscore N2 by 4 or more points, the championship fight stays alive into Grand Valley next Monday. But if N2 outscore all their opponents tonight, or keep Freem to within 3 points of that standing, then 92 win the championship. So it's all to play for tonight, but 92 Pyro will feel confident that they'll be taking home the silverware come the end of play here at Spa.
Yeah, it's essentially in their own hands tonight. It's realistically as simple as that. If they don't get beat, they're champions. If they do get beat, they're going to have a little bit of a nervy wait to see who does beat them, to see whether or not it'll be game, set, and match tonight or not. And that's the situation they're probably going to be wanting to avoid. They just want it done by their own means, and they won't have to hope or wait on any other help from the outside to try and get it done. But yeah, as I said, we were talking about it before we came on to stream. I personally think whether or not this championship is finished tonight in the Golden Rockets is entirely dependent on what Moreno we get.
Yeah, and it is confirmed that Sam Moreno will be running tonight for 92, alongside, I believe, Mateo Estevez, Hypers, the Argentine driver, former world champion in the Manufacturers' Cup from Nissan. Now, the lobby is back open. That's the good news. We are back underway, and again, last couple of laps to practice now for these drivers before we do get the race underway. Apologies for that delay, obviously technical difficulties outside of our hands with, I think it's Mehdi Hafidi having some issues there, but he has very respectfully and graciously apologised in the lobby chat, so we should be all good to go for our second race of the evening in the Silver Rockets, and it is a pole position slot for the Owls esports driver of Gunza. Now, Owls have been a team, one of the best teams in the Mac 25 ecosystem for years and years, and I was chatting with Mr. Alf yesterday very briefly off of air, and our producer and driver for Owls, he's in action tonight, and what he was speaking about is it kind of feels like it's fallen out of their hand, like slightly. It's just you talk about momentum a lot, Pyro. Just bad momentum after bad momentum after bad momentum. They started the championship off so well. They led the championship for the first 2 rounds, 44 and 35 for their first 2 rounds. But then killer losses, 11 and 8 points in the 2 rounds after that, Alego Maggiore and the Red Bull Ring. They have had some highlights later on down the line. They picked up a 1-2 finish at Barcelona in round 6 with our very own Alf taking the top step on the podium. But the alarm bells are really starting to ring in that particular camp as they led this Silver Rockets championship heading into Circuit de la Sarthe on Monday. But they're now in third behind Customs GT, who had a phenomenal race with Charles taking the win, and the Elite Racing Squad, who are a point ahead, the Polish outfit of Owls themselves. But the alarm bell's really starting to ring for the team in yellow and blue, although that pole position from Gunza will be a good reliever if you're an Owls fan.
Yeah, definitely. And quite frankly, if I'm being honest, they haven't recovered from that DC. If everyone will remember, they had a DC not that long ago, a few weeks ago, that dropped essentially them from what could have been in the top 5 time-wise, aggregate time-wise, to dead last. So they just really haven't done an awful lot of recovering since that point. It's just fallen away, as you said. They've got to get it together at some point, and they've got to stem the tide, hopefully. For the Owls team, that Gunza is going to be able to do that in this session, because if they leave it too late, it'll be too late for them to impact the championship at all.
Now, it's worth noting that obviously we saw the dynamic weather system in action in our first race this evening all the drivers made the right decision on going to the wet compound tyres, apart from for Pando and Majoka's team. But of course, with the dynamic weather system in place, it's like packets of Skittles. No two races are the same. So the rain could fall at a certain point later on down the line. It could fall at the exact same time. You don't know. It's difficult to tell. But a lot of these drivers, Kai, if you were in the position of racing in a later lobby, you probably would have watched that first race, seen where the weather has fallen, and maybe plan your strategy around that.
Yeah, definitely. Because if it's almost identical, the conditions in the race, definitely a good shout to have a look at the other guys to see how hard the tire degrades, at what point exactly does the rain fall, and at what point like the turning point is for like the diminution and the
back in the
tires.
qualifying order and then set the manual grid for this race. Just a blessing that Polyphony have introduced that feature into the online lobbies, otherwise we'd be a bit screwed. But we are about to get this race underway. It will be Gonza on pole position for Owls Esports, and we have the starting grid here quite handily. Medi Afidi in P2 and Nixo in P3 for Elite Racing Squad. We're about to get this race underway, and I'll hand us over to Pyro, who will take us through the opening few turns.
Yep, indeed. As we go with a couple of, well, all the drivers now lined up, and the flag's about to start, about to drop. Gunter from Medi, from Nixo, from EduMax on the front two rows. We actually saw in the practice session just there that the times were actually getting a little bit quicker with 4, with 5 red lights. And it's lights out, away we go. Another long hold, as we saw in the first race, but it's an absolutely electric start for anyone not named Medi, as he drops back already on the outside. As we maybe a little bit of contact, a lot of contact, and then EduMax is round. And there's another driver that's round, I'm not entirely sure. And I think it's one of the Polish drivers at the back of the grid. Sigma involved as well. This Alex Alpha's down. Okay, we're going back to the start. Because I'm not entirely sure what's happened here. A little bit, Sigma got turned around the nose, I think, on Mr. Alf, and that's why Alf is waiting. Alex is there as well. It looks a little bit of carnage. We're going to have to go and get that one on a proper replay later on after this session to figure out what actually happened, as the race is continuing nonetheless. And we go for a little bit further forward, a couple of teams already in a catastrophic position after the first couple of corners. Black shoving Gilly out the way as he gets a position gained up to 5th. That was not the cleanest move either. I think the stewards are going to be heavily involved just off lap 1 in this one. Never mind the rest of the race itself. So Nixo up in a second, Medi in 3rd, Defcon in 4th. And if anyone's going to take advantage of all of this, I think it might be Gunzer, who's 1.6 seconds up the road, Finley.
You say that, but Black started dead last in this race. He's now P5 as Punisher goes up the inside of Dia, who's dropping like a stone on those medium compound tyres. The Frenchman up into P6, but what a start for Black. But I do want to go back to lap 1 quickly, and we saw that Alpha maybe tipped Sigma there. I was watching the race start from Kai's point of view, and I think Kai may have spotted that Alpha's perhaps culprit in one of the other incidents as well heading into the source.
Yeah, definitely. Looking into T1, I think was a bit optimistic going down the inside. It was at that point already like 3 or 4 wide. And yeah, just turned around one of the guys and ended up waiting for them.
Yeah, I think that might have been EduMax, and I don't think Alf's actually aware of the fact that he maybe turned Sigma as well, because Sigma he's staying ahead of and he's racing. But as we start lap 2, a tale of 2 drivers if you're Owls, because Gonza's got a massive gap out in front, but Alf involved in 2 incidents, and I have no doubt that the stewards won't look particularly nicely on that. But it is the Owls driver Gonza that leads this race from Nixo and Medi as we head up Eau Rouge and rally on towards the back straight and Lycom out on lap 2, and Gonza has a massive lead. Medi perhaps in the slipstream of Nixo down this back straight, perhaps looking into a move into Lycom. He's right up on the gearbox. Does he look to the inside line? No, he looks to the side to bide his time for now, but he certainly does look the ratio of the 2 drivers between the pole and the Frenchman. But Nixo getting that good start, was able to get by as Black in the alien car is up into P4 from P12 on the grid ahead of the My Team car of Defcon. What an effort from the Colombian driver.
He absolutely needed it as well, because we saw him on Monday have a semi-decent qualifying and then got spun over the nose straight away and was very much suffering from start to finish after that point. It doesn't look like he's going to be the same. It looks like fortunes have turned for him in this one in particular, and kind of feeding him the other way from last to fourth, as you said. Defcon still in fifth, Punisher gaining up into sixth as well. To my team, off to a good start as they look to try and close down a massive haul of points to the rest of the teams that are in this competition.
Yeah, looking at the rest, Alien are having a really good race with regards to championship. They're maybe going to try and bridge the gap between them and Owls Esports as well. As Medi, is he racing enough for a move up the inside? No. This is probably the wise move, I would say. Again, there's no aggregate times involved, of course, but if Medi's just biding his time and waiting perhaps for a bit of assistance from his teammate who we know has the pace, and he does show that by setting the fastest lap of this race and going beyond the he obviously has the pace to do so, and maybe hold him up to try and bring Black into that race for the top two. Would you maybe suggest that would be the way forward?
Looking at Medi's driving style now, it looks like he's going for the move now, but he was before saving a bit of fuel. Well, it goes into P2 at this point.
Yeah, he does, perhaps going for the fuel save there, because as you mentioned in the first race of the day, Kai, it doesn't look like fuel's going to take you all the way to the end. So if you can save a couple of litres in the fuel and the pit stop, that could get you ahead in the pit lane. It is in a game like Gran Turismo 7, the racing is so often as much as it is in the pit lane as it is out on track. But Medi eventually deciding it's enough, and he has the pace to get past Nixo, and the Frenchman moves up into P2 ahead of Nixo. Black again looking really racy, the Colombian driver, but how will that affect his fuel is my question compared to the cars around him, because he has got the pace, but is he gonna lose time in the pit lane as a result? And meanwhile for Gonza, he is just completely checked out now, 2 seconds clear out front ahead of Medi, but Nixo is staying with him and maybe attempting to assault a move into the bus stop chicane at the end of lap 3. But after a dramatic lap 1, they're all behaving quite nicely, and it's as you were with regards to the top 5 for the entirety of the third lap, with Black in 4th and Defcon in 5th for my team, who've made an equally good start to this one.
Absolutely. They've done exactly what they needed to do. They're in this. They've got nothing to lose, so just throw anything at the wall and see what sticks, Nick. So almost looking up the inside of Medi there. It looked like he got a wheel potentially alongside for a split second and backed out. But Nixo is right there with Medi, and these two fighting is problematic for both of them, if I'm honest with you, because they are, should be looking to attempt to catch Gunza here, because without each other's help, they're not really going to get close to the Spanishman out front. So
Yeah.
if you're in this position, Kai, and you're Nixo or if you're Medi, what are you thinking? Are you willing to help the other driver that you know is not your teammate?
Yes, definitely. If you're looking at now, they're also working together and they're bumped off each other just to get closer to Gonza. Gonza, just checked out by 2 seconds at this point, but looking at last lap, they gained half a second already on that straight compared to Gonza.
Yeah, and that really is working. It's a lot like we see in sort of peloton style racing, like in the Tour de France, or a lot of the time like you see in Formula E, actually, drivers and cars just working together. We saw on the last lap maybe that swap down the back straight, because obviously the slipstreaming effect. Medi now punching a hole in the air for Nixo after Nixo was doing so at the start of the lap. That will help the Polish drivers' fuel saving efforts as well. But we saw the bump drafting, both cars desperate to try and bridge the gap between Black behind and Gonza out in front. But it is looking like a very assured performance so far from the Owls driver, who are desperate for some form of momentum after their continual slip. And heading into Grand Valley next week, they are still in with a very decent shout of taking home the Silver Rockets Championship. But a win for Gonza today would aid their efforts tenfold as they fight for that title alongside Elite Racing Squad and Customs GT, who have had a horrible start to this race with Chelsea P8 and Sigma down in P12. Coming through towards the bus stop chicane now on lap 4. Looking at a bit of a battle here, maybe between Black and Defcon. But again, maybe like you said before, actually Black's gone very deep there indeed. Potential chance for Defcon to maybe get the move done as we start lap 5 into the source. But again, maybe like Kyle alluded to earlier, these two drivers maybe working together to try and bridge the gap to Nixo and Medi out in front. That being said, Defcon does look up the inside, but does drop back slightly. Did drop off the throttle there to allow Aliens Black to maintain that position there and aid Defcon's fuel-saving efforts whilst trying to bridge the gap to the car out in front, which is Nixo as things stand for Elite Racing Squad.
I'm intrigued there because Defcon not going to help Black anymore as he goes to the inside. So I'll stop the question for a second. Here we go, Defcon looking for a move to Black, and he gets himself up ahead of him. And the question I was actually about to ask was about the final corner there. If you are pushing in and you're trying to get yourself into a position where you are going to try and catch up, Black again, pushing Defcon off the track. Well, we saw him do that to Jill earlier on as well from the Avalon team. He just drives through them as the rain is coming down after 9 minutes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Much earlier than the earlier lobby we've seen today, as Punisher does get by Defcon. The rain was starting to fall around the end of laps 6, lap 7 here. That little fight reducing that 3.2 second gap to Nixo in P3, who's still in behind Medi and working on fuel saving. As we head down the back straight now, could we see the first pitters in onto the intermediate or even wet compound tyres? Because you look at that rain meter next to the tyres on the MFD, that rain is coming down at a rate of knots. We're already on intermediate tyre weather with the potential to obviously go into wet tyres further down the line. And do we see our first drivers come into pit lane? It was looking like Medi's coming in. Did Gunzer follow him? Yes, he did. And Nixo comes in as well. So the vast majority, if not all drivers, coming in at the end of lap 5 to switch onto wet compound tyres. I say wet compound tyres here, Kai. Would you maybe look at the intermediates, or would you be going on full wets like the majority of the lobby did on the bronze?
If you look at the bronze guys, it will definitely be wets. But yeah, let's see what the guys will take. Looking at Gonza, he first takes some fuel.
It takes a lot of fuel at that rate as well. It's got to be. It's in it.
Well, Medi goes to the wets.
I don't understand that. Because we kind of know what the line in terms of the weather is going to be when it comes to the actual rain slots because of RO8, RO7, and RO6 in various particular orders. They're actually ghosted. But it's Medi and Gunzer as they go through the first couple of corners all the way through the Camel Straight. They've now unghosted, so they are completely fighting. Gunzer on the inside, Medi on the outside. I can imagine Gunzer had the better tyres for now, but that will not last long in the slightest unless the rain is very much off the charts. It's off the track of the whole potentially at this point, because that rain has pretty much hit the 2/3 point already.
Yeah, and if you look at the regulations on the Mac25gaming.com, the rain is scheduled to continue with the time slots, I suppose, that you can adjust in the lobby settings until the end of the race. So I am a bit baffled to see Gonza choose the intermediates because they didn't work for Pando for Jokers in the bronze lobby, and I'd be really surprised to see them work for Gonza here. And it looks like the other Owls car of Mr. Alf has gone on to the left. So dual strategies here. But if one of the Owls cars was wanting to take a risk on the intermediates, I'm surprised it wouldn't be Alf, who's kind of fighting a bit further back with respect to the Spaniard. But Medi looking really racy alongside Gunzer here and potentially looking to get a move done now up the inside. He's going to make contact with Gunzer, running out of road. Medi does get the move done. That could invite Nixo in as well as he goes up the inside. Gunzer does hold it around the outside, but a bit of contact. Medi does take the race lead, but the stewards might not look too kindly upon that. But the Frenchman does lead this race from Gonza in P2.
Yeah, and the Spanish driver in second place is not happy, and fairly understandably, because Medi just dragged right the way through him. And you can see it was flashing his lights down to Blanchemont. Yeah, I can imagine that's going to get, that belt's going to get rung if you're a steward straight away.
Bit of a slide from Medi on the exit of the bus stop. He is able to hold it together, but I mean, Nixo's queuing up right behind Gonza for a move, if not into the source and into the com. those intermediates looking to be falling off really quickly, and we see the rain meter flashing dark blue at the tip, which means we are into full wet compound weather. And it looks like, I think Punisher for my team's also gone onto the intermediates as well, if I remember correctly, so that could potentially affect him as well, and we could see Defcon, the Scottish driver, pass by Punisher sooner rather than later down the back straight. But looking at that battle for the lead, Medi has checked out 7/10 clear of Gunza already, despite only taking the lead just before Blanchimont. Heading down towards Lake Com. Is Nick so tempted for a move? No, he's just a bit too far. I say just a bit, he's 5/10 of a second far back. It would be absolutely ludicrous if we tried that, especially in this weather. But those cars, Gonza and Nixo, have a 2-second gap to Black behind them, the Colombian driver, so they do have a bit of time. But Nixo does have the pace on the wets compared to Gonza on the intermediates, who's gone very wide. Bit of a slide as well, and the Polish driver will be looking to get this move done sooner rather than later. Does he try to hold around the outside? Yes, he does. There's contact, and again, Gonza runs him out of road. So what Medi did to Gonza, Gonza's just done to Nixo as they head towards Pouon. And does he look at the inside of Pouon? What a move that would be if he managed to pull it off, but no, he bails out and thinks better of the situation. But again, I say it is just a matter of when and not if Nixo gets that move done. And all that's inviting Black back into this one, who's only now 1.3 seconds behind.
And also on the wet tyre. Kai, can you give us any sort of idea why the other drivers may have gone on to intermediate tyres? Because it didn't look inviting that to set and go onto that tyre, but could you be potentially thinking of any arguments as to why you would?
Going over the second bar on Gonza's tires. So the inters might work at some stage, but yeah, realistically speaking, the wet should be quicker. While Gonza makes a mistake into the final corner.
And Nixo makes a mistake on the exit of it. Sorry for butting in there, but got almost a trade-off of mistakes there from the guys in second and third. Nixo obviously up in a second is guided by. That didn't look good. I think that might have been Punisher. It was Punisher that had a bit of a mare on the exit of the source. That you can't be having too many of those. That's a certain. As we continue on in this race and maybe Gunza's off the track.
Big spin for Gonza up through Radion, and those intermediates are just not working well at all. We'll get the replay and see if we can figure out what happened to the Owls driver. But this postseason, just going from bad to worse for Owls, up through Erosion Radion, and just gets onto the curb, and he cannot afford to get onto the curb in this weather on intermediate compound tyres, and he has paid the ultimate price, now down to 11th, his teammates only in 9th. This is a really horrible race from an Owls perspective. Now a potential race win for Gonza from pole position, a strategy error completely blunders it, and Medi and Fidi's now P1, Nixo P2, and Black in P3. The Colombian driver for Alien. What a race this has been for Alien. Really looking to bridge the gap between that bottom 3 and top 3 in the Silver Rockets bracket. And the My Team as well, Punisher and P4, but on the intermediate compound tyres. And it's P5 for Defcon as Alf tries to hold his way around the outside of EduMax on the wet compound tyres. And Owls driver, finally a bit of good news for them, does manage to get by into P9 and hold the position Edu, who is looking pretty racy here. But this is just going from bad to worse for Owls, Pyro.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you see that the momentum is starting to slip, you need to take advantage of every single position that you've been given, and that's again just not what's happened. We saw it with Xiaoko on Monday night when we were watching the Silver Rocket race, and Xiaoko ran out of fuel from potentially ending in second, and then blundered that away. And now a strategy mistake, it could only be described as a mistake. Black, that is not the corner. As we go through the bus stop, that's just going to bring Punisher back into things. But yeah, you make the mistakes and you get punished for them. It's as simple as that. If you make an error, as much as the case for Gunza here going onto that intermediate tyres when it's been borderline wet the entire time, and he makes the mistake, gets punished for it, and now Owls are dead to rights in this race.
I'll tell you what, though, Punisher, and maybe you were going to comment on this, Kai, because I see on Punisher's POV, Punisher is making the intermediates work pretty well.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's definitely high risk, high reward tire. If you look at Gonza, high risk, no reward at the ready on. But I was watching Punish's onboard for the last lap. He made up definitely 1 second onto Ameti the last lap. So it might work out in the intermediates, but coming into the last laps, we'll see how the weather evolves.
He just needs to stay off those curves, doesn't he? That's the only issue with him, because it was looking like the faster race tyre at this particular moment.
Yeah, definitely. Still at this point, the Inters look very nice.
But it's a lot more prone to agitation there, Pyro. You were going to say?
Yeah, I would about to say it's going to be very interesting as well, because if you see Punisher's position, he's obviously got the tyres and gaining a little bit of time lap on lap with the way that it's not quite wet conditions yet. It might have just gone back to wet as soon as I said that. But Black's also going to be heavily under the stewards in this race. We've already seen it twice down the hill, where he just drives through Dilly and he drove through, I think it was DEFCON as well. So I can imagine that my team will be on the bell to the stewards sooner rather than later, try and get Black under a bit of punishment. So maybe a podium might be in the sights here for the my team drivers, and the only team that's going to do better than them so far is that Alien team.
I'll tell you what, DEFCON is getting really, really close to Punisher. They nearly made contact, and I think Punisher is going to cede that position. So DEFCON up the inside, maybe a bit of team orders involved, but the Scottish driver finds his way into P4, and he's on the wet compound, whereas Punisher is on the intermediate, so you can see that, because it's a big slide. That could allow, we haven't spoken about them all race, Customs, GT and Charles finding their way up into P5, race winners on Monday evening, and they're on the full wets as well, looking really racy. Maybe those intermediates starting to fall off a bit, just as we were Sigma. Meanwhile, it's just going from bad to worse for Sigma now. He's still rooted to the bottom of the table in P12. But Charles, in the slipstream of DEFCON down the back straight now, could look to get it done towards Lake Arm. Up the inside, I think he's maybe even getting this done before the braking zone. He is forced to brake. He brakes later than the Scottish driver. Up the inside, Charles gets into P4. And again, I've been singing the praises of him the entire season, winning races, performing week in, week out. He's one of Customs GT's star drivers, and he's really showcasing his talents here today.
He really is, getting himself back. And it's all about that recovery from the early part of the race, where you see Custom GT qualifying was, well, abysmal at best of times. And they've managed to just fight it back, but especially Charles has anyway. Sigma not really in the same boat. So if you start at the back, Kai, like Charles is, like Black did, what's the mindset going into the race in terms of trying to turn that around like those two have done in third and fourth right now?
Nothing to lose. Definitely just look ahead. Try to avoid any mistakes from the other guys. And capitalize, and that's what we saw from Charles already in P4, and trying already to see if he can get a podium.
Oh, a bit of contact, and there's a penalty for Black as well, so that could put him right into the clutches of DEFCON and Charles as the two drivers go side by side. Charles might have the inside for Blanchimont here, in fact he will. Does a very good job of keeping that side by side, but even is forced to lift off, and DEFCON just drives his way around the outside. Daring move in the way they're into Blanchimont. Not often we see that, but the Scottish driver pulling off some fantastic moves here as Punishers under a bit of pressure from the Elite Racing Squad driver. And Alex Bond has a big slide. He manages to keep it just about. That's going to invite Alex through up into P6, and that can invite Gia, the Avalon driver, up into P7. He goes up the inside into the source. First braking, late breaker. Punisher forced to go the long way around, and Gia into P7, so intermediates looking like they're falling off big time here, and he's now only 1.4 seconds behind the car behind, which I believe is Edumax for Avalon, but many holding on to the lead, 3 seconds clear of Nixo in P2. Penalty for Black means that DEFCON and maybe even Chouse might get by at the penalty zone, but DEFCON might look to do this before the penalty zone. Black's going to defend hard. Also battle between Gia and my Punisher for my team. Round the outside goes DEFCON. Is this wise to do it with the impending penalty for Black? I'm not quite sure. This is allowing Nixo to check out at the rate of knots. DEFCON unable to get it done, and he is just harbouring time to the 2 cars out in front as Gia holds it round the outside of Punisher and is able to withstand the pressure behind.
Yeah, he's just about hanging on. Nearly is both drivers in those battles, and Max is trying to tack himself onto the back of the pack, not doing a substantial job at it. Everyone behind Max just starting to be tailed off just a little bit. So we've got about 4 or 5 cars heading on the back of Alien Black, and he seems to be the one kind of bottlenecking the rest of the grid up to this point in the rain. And Chow's going a little bit deep there, trying to go DEFCON into a mistake potentially, or just maybe a mistake from its own accord. But either way, they're both now going to get into a very good position to try and overtake Alien Black as we go through into the penalty line. Let's see the damage this half second is going to do. It might be a little bit more damage if you make the mistake like that heading into the penalty line. He gets overtaken by DEFCON. Charles going for it, gets it. And I think Alex might be a little bit too far back to make something stick as well. So Black is going to drop to 5th and has to work his way back all over again.
Alex was working up the inside into the bus stop, but that was an opportunistic move at best, and he decides better of it as we begin lap 12. But what an awful episode for Black. You can see just that one trip outside of the curve. I don't know how he's managed to pick up a penalty for track limit, because I would not be touching those curves with a 5-foot barge pole, if I'm honest. As Alex looks up the inside into the source, he's going to try and make it work side by side into a Rouge and Rally on, but Black just has the overspeed there. There's just that one little tiny mistake costing so much time, and 2 positions in the end for the Alien driver. But it is good news for Alien. P5 at the moment for Black, and Medi leading this race 6 seconds clear. That gap is growing with every lap. He's driving phenomenally at the moment, and he's putting it well behind Nick. So there's a real Alex is desperate to get this moved on, and Black goes all the way around the outside. He might get 2 for the price of 1. No, that was a bit optimistic. And there's a bit of contact. He forces Black out wide. It's all happening in this battle for P5 a bit further back. And Alex
Alan driver there, Gilly almost drove right off the track, bulleted into the bottom of the hill there, just almost came to blows with Alien Black. So I just wanted to make that aware. I apologize, you can now take the floor.
Yeah, definitely great racing at this point. Definitely a bit of argy-bargy, but it's all fair. Yeah, it's really nice from the guys.
Yeah, penalty for Max as well. And that might, I mean, to be fair, Punisher is doing a sterling job on those intermediates, and Max might well get the move done even before the back straight. He's going to have to force to drop further back, and that could place him into the clutches of Mr. Al, who's looking to scrimp any points possible in this battle for the Owls team. Because as a reminder, the bottom 3 forgive me, that's the Bronze Rockets at the moment. There are points all the way down, I was going to say. I'm looking at this spreadsheet in front of me, and like, there's no points for the bottom 3. Yes, there is, Finley, so there are guaranteed points. Sigma potentially looking for move on Alpha P10 as things stand. They're all looking really nice. Contact. Gears slowed down quite a bit there, and Black's round. Black is round. We'll maybe see if we can get the replay on that. But Black, this race is going from bad to worse for him. Let's see if we can find out what happened. He got on the curb on the exit of Blanchimont. I'm not quite sure who were on board with it. It's one of the Avalon drivers. I think it might be Max or Gear. And it was just a domino effect. Alex slowed. Black barged into him, Gear bumped into him, and both of those drivers are going to pay the price for it. There's more chaos happening. I'm looking from Ty's point of view. I think Gear's just been involved in something else, and he's dropped right to the back of the field. There was a bit of an incident through, of course. We'll see if we can get the replay. No, that's just the replay of what we've just seen before. But there was an incident there. We'll get that to you in our replay. But absolute chaos on lap 13. But this is really benefiting teams like Elite Racing Squad, and even my team, Punisher, really making it work on those intermediates and pressuring Max in front. But bad news for the likes of Alien and Avalon, who have lost position. But Sigma has managed to work his way up into P8 from the bottom, so I think there may have been further incidents. This is a big slide for Max. He's into the grass. That allows Sigma to get by and maybe get a move on Punisher as well. But I think there may have been further incidents for the Owls drivers as well. Sigma was right at the bottom, but he's managed to work his way back up to what was P8. But after that unforced error from Max, now P9 is there's more sliding, and Max is really harboring time here and under pressure from Black, as there's a penalty for Punisher, and Sigma does get by up the inside into P1, so he's up into the top half after that first lap mistake from the Customs driver. But this is turning into a really, really, really good race for Customs GT from absolutely out of nowhere.
Yeah, 13 laps of this race, they'd been realistically out in the wilderness and would have been looking down the grid to see who could take advantage. But we've seen incidents, we've seen Black be involved, we've seen Giller get involved, we've seen the Owl driver being all over the place, left, right, and centre. In this race up to this point, Punisher's going to drop a few positions here. Here comes Edumax looking before the penalty.
They were side by side for P2 briefly. Defcon, out of absolutely nowhere, is managing to get right up into the gearbox of Nixo. Does he look for the move into the bus stop? No, he's a bit too far back. But Defcon absolutely has the pace, and Charles is just waiting behind for a move. But this is fantastic racing, and the Scottish driver now with the reveal shout of P2 as we take the metaphorical white flag, start the final lap of this race. But Mehdi Hafidi is going to canter to a race win, barring a comedy of errors from the French driver. But this battle for P2 is really enthralling. The battle for P9 may just be as well, as Mr. Ralph goes up the inside of Punisher, who's struggling on those intermediates this time.
More problems! I'm sorry to butt in, but I think Edumax has been the butt of another problem. They went down the hill. Trying to see what's happening down into the corner here, into La Source. It was Alien Black who went to his inside. And yeah, he just got contact. He just got turned around him. And Alien Black. Yeah, Alien Black and the stewards again.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, in all of this, Chance has managed to get by Defcon. Defcon going the long way round as well, as someone slid off there in the back. As one of the Owls drivers, I think it's Alf, he's going to be forced to seat in position. In fact, he's going to be forced by one of the drivers who's completely bumped him off. Unroutine there from Alf, and a dreadful 2 races for the Spanish driver. Last week on Monday at Le Mans, and will likely be last this week. But this battle for P2 out front, Nixo is P2, Charles has managed to get by into P3 ahead of Defcon and P4, but almost certainly we've probably missed a million of instances that there'll probably be penalties for. So this order could be literally flipped on its head come next week when we give you the final results and preparations for Grand Valley. But Mehdi will win this race barring the final lap mistake. The battle for P2 completely throwing Charles all over the gearbox, and Nixon potentially looking for a move down house as well, actually. Phenomenal racing between these 3 drivers. Poland, Spain and Scotland all represented as we head down the back straight for the final time towards Blanchimont, that fast left-hander where there will undoubtedly be a lift-off, but there's potential for moves and mistakes in equal measure. Mehdi's going to come through the final corner now at the bus stop to take home the race win, but all eyes on this battle. Charles looking the long way round into the bus stop. Nixo on the inside line, that does become the outside line, but he manages to hold it well. Defcon desperately looking for the switchback, but he can't find it. It's going to go right up to the line, but it is going to be Nixo that holds on to P2, Charles Hogan P3, Defcon P4, Alex P5, Sigma P6. Black manages to get by P7. Punisher holds on to P8 on the intermediates. Edumax in P9 for Avalon. Gonza home in P10. Gia home in P10. And it's a bottom 2 finish for Owls Esports. Terrible race for them, but what a race for Mehdi Hafidi. Pyro read that one from what seemed to be start to finish after Gonza's error.
Yeah, Gonza had the chance to take advantage of the position at the beginning of the race, didn't take it, went onto the wrong tyre, and it was game, set, and match from there, pretty much. Went onto the intermediates, the Owl driver, and is going to get punished heavily for that. With a 11-12 finish. I was about to say 1-2. Definitely the opposite of that. Couldn't get anywhere further away from a 1-2 finish, I don't think. And I want to ask this to you, Kai. If you are an Hours driver right now, how do you stop the bleeding?
Yeah, it's difficult to say, you know. Definitely that last lap is very unfortunate for Mr. Alf. And as for Gonza, yeah, I guess just the wrong tire choice, wrong strategy, taking the inters instead of the wets, and yeah, you pay the price while spinning on top of ready on.
Yeah, and I think so. We're just about to get the replay from Kai very briefly. Pyro, I know we're not on your screen at the moment, but if you could very just briefly show me the race result so we can maybe have a look at the final running order if that's at all possible. In fact, no, forgive me, we're going to go straight to the replay because Kai got it much quicker than I thought he would have. So we'll just go to the replay now and we'll take a look at the race start, because I think a lot of areas were standing there, and I'm particularly interested to see, Kai, if we can get it from Mr. Ralph's position, who's starting on P7, because he was the root of a couple of incidents from my and your perspective. Take us through it, Kai.
Yeah, Mr. Alf had a pretty good start for himself, but I guess he just, yeah, if you can see, just a bit. And honestly, it was hard to say because it was 4 wide at one point. He had the inside. Let's look again.
It looks heavily ambitious, admittedly, from that point of view.
If you have a look with the camera here, you know, it's...
Wow.
Good luck. Good luck making it through that one alive. It's the best way of putting that.
I do not envy Nico Romero and the shooting team at all in this one. There was another incident involving Alf. I'm not sure. Did Alf make contact with P4?
He did.
There?
He did. He did. He definitely did. Kai can put it along here. There you go. Yeah, right on the inside.
Just a touch on the rear wheels, which make him spinning.
I think.
And then at that point, he just waited for the guys.
Yeah, whether waiting. If you're a steward, yes, he's waited, but from my perspective, waiting can cause further incidents because you've got a really slow car off of the racing line. So I'm not sure whether the stewards will look too fondly on that one, but yeah, just an absolutely chaotic race start there. Alf with there was P10 as well. Alex, the Elite Racing Squad driver, had an incident as well, which we didn't even cover. We can go back and have a look at what happened there with Alex for Elite Racing Squad. Maybe he was just a unfortunate part. Oh no, he got on the curb on the exit of La Source, I think, and that resulted in him spinning off as well. Oh, he got forced out.
Like he was forced off, admittedly.
So one more look.
He might have got forced out by Defcon. All the way around the outside, very late on the brakes.
Oh, it's a bodying from everyone else that happened. Everything else that happened at the front. There's not a lot that Defcon can do about that, admittedly.
No, I think the stewards are going to be hitting themselves on the face right now, looking at what they're having to deal with, because there's a lot going on there. And then.
Remember when you said I wouldn't make it? Now you mad because I took it, didn't fake it. Pressing every day, I was patient. I was putting all that work, no hesitation. Now I'm getting everything I'm chasing.
So after we covered that madcap race start, this was the incident. Now, worth minding, this was after pit stops. Pit stops took place for all the drivers actually on lap 5. Consensus on what lap to pit, but not consensus on what tyres to pit on. Punisher and Gonzo went on to the intermediates, and I think it was up into Original Radion, if I remember correctly. So we're with Gunza at the moment. Maybe Kai can take us through this one.
Yeah, I think for Gunza with the intermediates, of course, it's a bit trickier than a wet, and he might have just took a wet patch on the curb on the inside. We'll have a look. Yeah, just hit the curb and lost the car.
And that cost him the race. I mean, it's easy to say with hindsight. I'm not sure we would have kept that position anyway, because I mean, we saw Punisher with the intermediates. He managed to keep it on the track, but he was falling off at quite a rate of knots. He solid effort with it, came home P8, and I think it might be even higher up considering the sheer number of drivers that are likely going to take home penalties after this race. But yeah, just intermediates on the curb at Spa and a track with tons of rain on it. Just not. I think back to that. The final license test in this game, actually, when you're on the dry tyres on a wet track at Spa, and so many instances I had there at Rouge and Radion trying to make it work. But yeah, that just cost him big time, and just a devastating race for hours. 11th and 12th, the minimum points possible. They will take home an extra point for pole position, but I doubt that'll be much solace to them whatsoever. But yeah, it is Mehdi Hafidi who takes home the race win for Alien Motorsport. Now, I believe what we're going to do, potentially, I'm just waiting to hear the word if we can take a break or if we're about to get going for Golden Rockets. I'll get that to you in a moment, but what I can do very briefly whilst I hear that word from our producers is we can take you through once again the Golden Rockets lineup for the rest of the evening, as we can show you some more thrilling racing on track whilst I a bit of visual ASMR for you as I take a look at these 6 teams in action for our final race of the night. It's 92 Esports who, as we said, can wrap up the championship tonight if they maintain a 60-point gap out front in the championship lead from Freem Esports. Kraken Stage GT had a fantastic race on Monday to take them from back from the brink to now P3 in the championship. Manu Hernandez was electric for the majority of that race, finishing in P3. Azteca Racing Motorsport had a horrible race. They were second in the championship heading into this one. The race result of I'm just finding it at the moment. P9 P12, I was going to say. Jose Brea extremely unlucky with a reset after lap 1 after he tried to cut the Mulsanne chicanes a bit too much. So he's now down to P12 after that one. And a really bad race for Azteca means they currently are in P4 in the championship. It's P5 for Vanquish Esports, who had a difficult race specifically with Mew off the pace for the entire race, it seemed like. And Visceral Esports are picking up 106 points from that one, the second worst tally of the round, but they currently sit P6 in the standings. So still all to play for in this one, but the main headline is if at the end of the night 92 Esports have a 60-point gap out in front, they win the InfinityGSeries 2026. And with the lineup they have tonight, Samuel Moreno, one of the best drivers in the world in any machine, it seems like. He's not really just a rising star anymore. He's one of the best drivers in the world. And I'm sure, Kai, you can maybe comment on your experiences with him. He's just electric in whatever he drives in, isn't he?
Yeah, Compton Moreno, seeing him come into the World Series as well, being a direct competitor of mine. This guy has a lot of space. Very quick guy, and as well just looking at his World Series performance, of course his results weren't that great, but I mean his pace is how do you say is
very quick.
Yeah, basically very quick.
To be fair, I think with that race again, you weren't in that battle, so obviously you maybe wouldn't have been up there at the time, but I think if he hadn't made that just one singular mistake, he would have been up there with the win pole, I think. I think that one incident allowed Paul to just pull away and take the win.
Yeah, it definitely was in the mix. If he did make the mistake, he was with us for sure. But also for his first mistake, keeping this the pressure, at the point where he first went, the pressure might be high, but he kept his cool. He did make a mistake though, so I mean, but still, that doesn't take the fact that he's racing fast.
Absolutely. I think we're looking at a future. We'll see down the line. But yeah, we've got. If you're joining us for the first time on the InfinityGSeries and you're coming in to watch this Golden Rocket race, I think you will be surprised at the sheer strength of the body. You'll have a lot of drivers that you'll have seen in both the Nations and Manufacturers Cup over the years. You've already seen some, for crying out loud, in Silver Rockets, many being the former world champion, taking home the race win in the second division. I think that just shows you how the strength and depth of the lineup we have here at Mach 25 Gaming, and looking across the grid for the last 6 teams we'll see in action this evening, I think we will just see so many names and faces that you'll recognise from the World Series. We have just got notification from our production team that we're not going to take a break. We're about to join the lobby any moment now for our final race of the evening, the Golden Rockets race, featuring our top 6 teams in the championship. And there are those top 6 teams, 92 Esports, in prime position to take home the championship title if they maintain, or they gain, I should say, a 60-point gap at the top of the tree, which means they need to basically limit Freem Esports. If they outscore all competitors tonight, or most by a certain margin, we'll calculate it for you as the race goes on. They will take home the championship. But the main headline is, if Freem outscore 92 by 4 points or more, the championship battle goes to Grand Valley. If they don't, if it's less than 4 points, or 92 outscore them and the rest of the teams by a certain margin, they will take home the title. So Pyro, this really is tension time now for 92, knowing that they're in a position, and a decent one at that, to take home the title.
Oh yeah, if they want it, it's in their own hands. As we said it before, it is in their own hands. If they want it done today, then Moreno's gonna have to be the one that does it. To be honest with you, Hypers is good, but at the same time, Moreno is that star. Is that star in that team?
World champion here for crying out loud, Pyro. Come on.
I am, but at the same time, you get only as good as your last race. And Moreno is world class. Moreno is the star of this team, and that is not a doubt. And that's not a slight on Hypers in any way, shape, or form. It's not meant to be anyway, but it's still a very vast difference. But it is going to be very much high on Moreno to see whether or not they can do it. But they just need to know today that at the same time, all they need to do is just, even if they do get beat, is just don't get beat by that heavy. Even if it does go to Grand Valley in a week's time, if they can go in with a 50-point advantage, that is still a fairly insurmountable lead.
Yes, most certainly, and we have cars on track at the moment, so we can maybe take you there in a moment and see some of the teams and drivers in action this evening. We did have the teams flash up on the screen briefly for you to take a look at, but in terms of the drivers we're going to be seeing racing for us this evening, we already mentioned 92. They posted their lineup on social media before with Sam Moreno partnering alongside Mateo Estevez for that particular team. Looking at some of the other lineups I can see on track at the moment, we have both Austrian drivers out on track, Icon for Visceral and Flexi for Vanquish, and Visceral's lineup this evening, and team bottom of the standings as things stand. In the Golden Rockets race, it'll be Icon, and it'll be Simon Rosenberg, a very fast American driver who's qualified for the World Series this year once again. Freem Esports will have the actor named Bray, the Italian driver, and he'll be alongside Lewis Burton, frequent member of the chat. Good evening, Lewis. If you're watching Vanquish Esports, we've already mentioned Flexi. He'll be joined by Mew Mew this evening, another frequent member of the chat, although tends to be not when he's racing, which may be a good idea. Me and Pyro's loud voices will probably put him off. He'll be running this evening. He had a difficult race at Le Mans, but he'll be looking to bounce back tonight. Azteca Racing looks to be going with Diego Rojas, and I'd imagine Jose Brea. I can't quite tell. Azteca have gone for Lopez, and who's the other one?
We're all
scrambling around for Lopez. Rojas and Lopez.
Lopez.
We got there actually. This evening. And then Krakenstein's Manu Hernandez has just been one of the best drivers this season. He's not been off the podium in any of the 5 races he's run across the regular season, and on Monday is Circuit de la Sarre, and he'll be partnered by Cuerdo, who's a driver who's perhaps for a driver that qualified for the elite standings at Corby this year, he's maybe gone down in not in our estimations, but he's maybe had a bit of a season to forget from a personal standpoint. I look back to that race in Deep Forest Raceway to open off the season where he got a penalty during Manu racing really well through the season, and the teammates unable to keep up. The Jose Ito did really well on Monday, and they'll be looking to put an end to that. Looking at the lobby this evening, I'm sure a lot of drivers you'll be familiar with from Top Split Racing, the GTWS. Any names out there that specifically, apart from the obvious, that maybe stick out to you? Any dark horses or sleeper picks that you have your eyes on?
Let's have a look. I mean, for me, of course, and only are Lewis, Flexi, J. Lopez, Mio, Hypers, Simon. Might be that Manu might be like a dark horse compared to the other guys, but I guess we'll see and find out how things go in qualifying.
Qualifying underway now, and yes, we are just about to get underway as I say that, and the driver's heading out of the pit lane. We're going to get 2 flying laps in. Pyro, from what you're seeing out on track, maybe having a bit of a look at the practice session, do you think we can maybe get into the 59s this evening? I'm going to ask you instead of Ty, just in case. Do you think we can maybe get into the 59s?
Yes, without a doubt. Isn't it Super Pole though, the format for the Golden Rockets?
That's a very good point, and one I completely forgot to pick up on. Thank you for covering that. We are running a Super Pole format in the Golden Rockets, and you can see on screen our stopping zone demonstrated. So that will be at the end of the lap where drivers will stop at the exit, the runoff at the source once they complete their laps, and this is the waiting zone. I believe that's down the back straight before Blanchamont by the looks of things.
Makes sense.
So that is the waiting zone and stopping zone here. So again, if you're tuning into the InfinityGSeries for the first time, I know Kai is, so this will all be a bit strange to him and to our audience. Maybe we can get Pyro to explain what will be happening with the Super Bowl format.
So, when the Super Bowl format, all of these drivers will go around on their outlap. They will park up on the waiting zone, which, as Finley just described, is on the back straight beside Blanchamont. They will then be called in 2 at a time because there's two per team, starting with the team at the back of the championship, which is Visceral for the Golden Rockets division. They will then be called in 2 by 2, going from 5th and then 4th. And those 3 teams will be on the track at the same time. They will set their laps together and essentially one-shot qualifying. Whoever does the fastest time will be at the top. And then the second set of 3 teams, the top 3 in the championship in reverse order, will be called to the track to do the same thing. Whoever is on pole will start on pole as we go through the entire, into the race itself. So it's all to play for. It's all based on a singular lap. Everyone else tonight has had 2 laps at this. The Golden Rockets only get the 1.
Yeah, they've drawn the short straw here, and we are just getting drivers heading into the pit lane now. So you'll come in, you'll change. You're not obligated to change your tyres. We saw a couple of teams at the Abu Dhabi race a couple of weeks ago try off and warm tyres, which did not go well, shockingly. I'm not sure that was a mistake in changing the tyres in the pit lane. They'll top up on fuel. They'll more likely than not change their tyres, and they'll go on their way to do their official outlap before doing their sole flying lap. And as you say, Pyro's Visceral Esports that will kick us off with Simon Rosenberger and Icon there as well. I think this might be the first time this season we've seen an American and an Australian in the same team, all about international diversity in the Max 25 gaming ecosystem. Francorchamps Esports will follow in behind with another Austrian driver in Flexi, alongside Mew Mew, our favourite Polish-British driver, I suppose, before Azteca Racing Motorsport, Krakensteins, Sim Freeman, and then your championship leaders, 92. So that's what we've got coming up for us. Kai, you may be familiar with, you will be familiar with the Super Bowl format. What interesting aspects or challenges does that 1 lap effort bring to a qualifying session?
It brings a bit of more pressure, of course. You only have 1 lap, so I have to know every corner. And yeah, that's basically it, honestly. Just a near lap. Yeah.
Are you just a driver that goes out there and just races, doesn't think too much about it?
Honestly, yeah, just do your lap. Honestly, for me, quality is not that spectacular.
Yeah. No, figures. I have seen from some of the responses you've given in commentary this evening, you may be a sort of driver that likes to keep your cards close to your chest in that regard. And we do see a lot of personalities out there in Gran Turismo. But some do tend to be a bit more muted, perhaps, with regards to. We're coming through Puan now. We have the Visceral guy. I say Puan. I'm watching my YouTube stream, my laptop there, but certainly not through Puan. They're coming down the back straight towards Blanchamont. And you'll know, we've seen a lot this season. We talked about the deferral strategy with drivers coming up really close together, drivers starting further behind each other. Visceral opting for the strategy of spreading their drivers out a bit more and opting for clean air rather than using that slipstream down the back straight. So Simon well in front of Icon behind. And maybe, Kai, you can speak about the slipstream, in this certain aspect. If you were in the car with one of your Vitality teammates, would you be opting to spread a bit further out, or would you be opting to stay close behind and take advantage of the slipstream down the back straights toward Macomb or the bus stop?
Yeah, definitely not take a slipstream into the first camel straight, but opting to take a slipstream into the what you're saying, into the bus stop chicane. That is an option, although you want to, of course, have your own 1 and final lap to be on your own at one point, because it might distract yourself from making a mistake or not getting the right corners.
Okay.
But as we look now here at the ARM guys, they are opting to stay together.
Really interesting. So we do have that deferral already, but you can see on screen at the moment the two Visceral cars, Simon in front of Icon, very, very spread out, whereas you already said the Azteca cars opting to bunch up a lot closer together, and very similar with the Vanquish cars of Flexi and Mew Mew as well. So we're already seeing some deferral in strategy. Will that pay off when push comes to shove and the checker flag flies out to end qualifying? We'll soon find out as the two Visceral cars head down the back straight and towards Blanchimont to record the first set of times for the evening.
Yeah, into this final sector with the two Visceral drivers. It's interesting to see all the different changes of strategy already in the Super Bowl is already flagging them up. Azteca in particular need to stop the bleeding. We seem to have a very familiar theme going through all the different Rockets tiers so far this time around, where a team has got to stop that bleeding if they want to win a championship. We didn't see Deluxe do it. We didn't see Owls do it earlier on in the Silvers, and unfortunately Azteca seem to find themselves in that position today as well. Here we go, 2 minutes, 1 for Simon Icon to the line, almost breaches the 2 minutes, but doesn't quite get it.
Still 4/10 faster than the quickest times we've seen so far tonight, so that's not a good omen for the rest of the lobby. I don't know what is, as Mew Mew comes around the final corner for Vanquish across the line, and we do break into the 59s for the first time this evening. A 59.9 from Mew Mew. Flexi, bit of a disappointing lap, I'll say that. It still would have been the quickest time so far this evening had no other drivers gone ahead of him with a 2 minutes 3, but that does put him at the back as things stand. Now with the Azteca racing cars, you said they'd opted to bunch to go closer together. They've now spread out quite a bit, so I'm not sure whether Lopez is significantly faster than Diego Rojas, because that has absolutely widened as Lopez crosses the line, and he 2 minutes 2 minutes 2.0.
Yeah,
really
Rojas had a penalty.
qualifying for Azteca.
Yeah, Rojas had a penalty. It did not go very well in the slightest. It looked like we were pretty much ready for the end of the laps coming up in a minute here for Manu and company as well. 2 minutes 0 for Manu. Let's see what Corredo's got in the tank. Up in a 5th for Corredo. Lewis and Frey, the next two up to the line then. What can Simfreem do? We know they need to beat out 92. They're the team that will come up later as well. The next one to the line, it's 59.9 for Frey. As we go into with Hypers and then Moreno. The last two here, Hypers, not in the 1 minute 59, but Moreno is. And Moreno has come to play and is on pole position in the Spa here with a chance to close the door.
Absolutely. What a lap from Moreno. 1 minute 59.9. See 3 drivers breach the 1 minute, the 2 minute mark today, and they're all from different teams. So Moreno for 92, Mew Mew for Vanquish, Frey for Simfreem as well. Got a completely jumbled up grid. We've got 5 teams in the top 5, Icon in P5 for Visceral. The only team that had a particularly dreadful qualifying were Azteca, who will walk out the 6th row, if I remember correctly. But 5 different cars, 5 different teams represented in the top 5. So actually, you have to say this is probably one of the best. And Simon also P6 is the quickest second car, I suppose, we've had this evening as well. So a good effort for Visceral, but it is Samuel Moreno on pole position. And as you say, Poe, they will look to close the door on the championship tonight. But the teammate of Moreno, Hypers, will go from P8. So he's going to need to work his way up the grid to work alongside his teammate in 92 have a chance of closing out tonight, barring a bit of a horror for Freem.
Yeah, the qualifying wasn't great for Simfreem. The qualifying, albeit not spectacular for 92, would be enough. They would wish that the night would end right now, because they would close that door. It would be game, set, and match. But unfortunately for them, they still have 14 laps of the race to go. And I did point out in the beginning of before we went to bug all the Rockets, that you were Finley was disparaging me for talking bad about Hypers.
Right, okay.
But the qualifying session went exactly as I thought it would go. It's all down to Moreno.
If Hypers to be fair to him, if Hypers was in a different split, 2 minutes 2 would be enough for pole position. That's all I'm going to say. But I think that just shows the golden clash between the Golden Rockets cars and the others. I think it's all the way down to P9 with Flexi for Vanquish. If that lap of 2 minutes, .307, that would be enough for pole in either the silver or the bronze Rockets to split. But let's take a look as a final reminder of the standings heading into this decisive race. And as we mentioned, pole position for Samuel Reyno and P8 for Mateo Estevez. If they were to hold position for the duration of the race, they would take home the title. We will be keeping an eye on that title race as the evening progresses for you. We'll have production in our ear telling us all the facts and figures we need to know, I'm sure. But Kai, heading into this race, we've seen the sheer gulf in class between the golden split and the bronze and silver split. What will be in the head of the drivers now as they head towards lights out?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the weather, if they look at the streamer hours, they definitely want to opt for the wet tires, I guess. As well as starting on the soft and just staying out of any mayhem. We saw the silver leagues at T1 that was already a bit of carnage going forward into that corner. So I guess for the guys, they hope to just keep it clean and for themselves to make up positions.
Pyro, other than the impending championship battle, which is obviously really difficult to ignore, what else are you looking out for in this final race of the evening?
I'm quite frankly looking for upsets, and I have a couple of drivers here very near and dear to my heart, like where I do all my stuff. I am looking at Lewis and I am looking at Mumu. I have to, otherwise I think they might end up going after me afterwards. But no, I'm looking at Mumu here because I think he can really bring a real fight to Moreno tonight.
Yeah, and he had a bit of a dismal race at Le Mans last week. May have been some incidents involved in there as well. Came home in P11. Vanquish more like not mathematically, but realistically outside of the title race now. They'll just be racing for pride and all important points as we head to Pulpy in October. But a real opportunity for Miu to do some damage tonight, and he certainly seems to have the pace.
Oh yeah, absolutely has the pace, and well, it's less than half a tenth that splits him, Moreno, and well, just over a half a tenth. That's if you want to include Frey in it as well. But I do want to pick up earlier. You said it down to Flexi that would have beaten out the pole time. It's all the way down to Lewis, down in 10th. Literally anyone not wearing Azteca colours right now would have qualified pole in either one of the splits that we came before us. And I think that probably puts where the situation for Azteca really is right now, isn't it? Because we were saying it earlier on where it's been a team from each split has had to stop the bleeding, gain some version of momentum, and it's just continuing. If anything, that bleeding getting worse for Azteca since choosing a Mazda at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, really interesting. And for a team that was second in the championship heading into Le Mans on Monday, they're fourth at the moment already. And Vanquish, and especially Visceral, 5th and 6th off the line, will be looking at in front of them and saying that they're there for the taking, most certainly. And we're about to get on of the week at Francorchamps with Samuel Moreno on pole position alongside Miu on the front row. We're just waiting for the green flag any minute now, as the tension is palpable here at the InfinityGSeries, and indeed the countdown does begin for our final race. So Moreno on pole, Miu alongside, Frey P3, Manu P4, Icon P5, 5 teams in top 5, with Azteca Racing Motorsport locking out the final row. So as you see it, as things stand, it's Moreno on the inside. I believe it is Miu on the outside, heading into the source and turn 1. All eyes on the lights now. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. Another long way, but it is eventually lights out, and we are racing. It's a decent start for both drivers off the front row. Manu with a bit of a racy start as well. As I look to the outside. Manu hard defending the inside. Same Moreno, he does manage to hold position through turn one. There's a bit of a contact further back as well. Lopez falling quite a way behind, but Moreno managing to hold position, as is Miu Miu, as is Frey, as is Manu. They're all behaving very well indeed, but Simon up to P5, Icon down to P7, being overtaken by his teammate, and Quedo as we head up Eurasian Radion, down the back straight towards Lake Comet. It's Moreno who's holding position, but he'll be under pressure from Miu Miu and Frey behind him. Miu Miu does look to the outside, he's being bumped by Frey. Miu Miu to the race lead, Frey round the outside of Moreno as well. Can he make it work? There's contact further behind between Simon and Manu. Simon does make it work up into P4. Frey makes it work up into P2, and it's a nightmare start from San Moreno, who started on pole, but overtaken by both Miu Miu and Frey, finding himself in P3.
And this is exactly what 92 was looking to avoid, with Frey getting ahead of him. And also Lewis had an absolute electric start as well. He was up in the 8th, but I'm not entirely sure where he'd gone, because Rojas now occupied the 8th place. So Lewis down into 9th, Flexi in 10th, and again, not to disparage him at all, but Hypers is off to a really, really poor start and down into 11th straight away, and he's gonna be a little bit of an anchor to 92 Esports at this rate. Lewis to the inside, looking for a move. Flexi dropping a 10th. Flexi trying to fight Rojas as well. Lewis is back up into 8th, retaking that position that he did in fact lose not that long ago. Just a little bit behind Corredo, who's got a slight gap, and then Icon with an even bigger gap in front of that. So the gaps are just starting to split already. Lewis has caught up to Corredo. Corredo now leading the train of 5 cars in the middle of the field here, all the way down to the back with all the Azteca drivers, I believe, both of them involved here. Oh, I think Lewis just went through Corredo, and he got the position in a little bit of a give back there from Corredo, and Rojas is round. And I'm not sure if that was contact or not, but he is round nonetheless.
Maybe we can get a replay. Let's have a look. Kai, maybe you can show us what's happened here.
Let's have a look. Yeah, just touched her out on the rears and into the barriers.
Yeah, there was one of the Kraken stage drivers, Quedo, that's tipped Diego Rojas. And Kraken stage one of the teams that are making a grand comeback as we look for the battle with the lead. Frey's managing to get by Miu Miu down the back straight, down the Camel straight. Bit of a push of Miu Miu from Moreno, though, to maintain that lead. I think Moreno desperate, trying to get a move done on Frey, and if it wasn't for that bit of a love tap there, Frey would have had the race lead, but Miu Miu does hold position at the front as things stand. But Frey, desperate to get this move done, he's going to go up the inside here. Daring move from the Italian driver, but it is the Simfreme car that gets up into the race lead for the first time in this one. Simon sticking with this 3-car battle as well for Visceral, who made a good start with Simon in P4, Icon in P5, Manu in P6 for Kraken Stains as well. But a good start for Visceral, and an excellent start for Frey, who has the race lead and is now checking out just under 7/10 of a second ahead of Miu Miu, who's under pressure from Moreno behind.
Yep, and if you're Simfreme, you're taking a look at this race, and this start could not have gone any better. You knew coming into this you had to beat 92 Esports to some description. It's 4 points that they need to gain, so they did need to win their man-to-man battles tonight, that is for certain. And Frey is currently 2 positions up ahead of Moreno, when probably got about 1.5 seconds worth of time in that gap. And also Lewis is up into 7th already. So it's looking really, really racy today for Simfreme. The qualifying not so much, but the race has gone perfectly for them so far.
Absolutely, we're being told in our ear. Hold on, I'll give you that information in just a couple of seconds. As Mandy looks at the inside, Icon looks at the inside of his teammate. Simon went wide, and Icon does eventually find a position. Flexi going for a massive undercut, as there's a massive fall off for one of the drivers behind. Manu's down to 8th. Lewis and Flexi gonna go side by side. Flexi with the switchback might be able to get it done as well as they head down the back straight up towards Eau Rouge, and I think he does manage to get it done. So Flexi up in the P6, but Lewis will have the advantage of slipstream down the Camel. But what I can say at the moment is we're being told that Simfreme are outscoring 92 by 15 points as things stand, and the title will go to Grand Valley. Every overtake matters. at this particular moment in time, as Lewis gives a bump draft to the car in front to try and force his way around of Simon, and Simon's dropped back to P7. Massive drop-offs now for both Simon and Manu, as Flexi and Lewis find their way forward, and Flexi might try the inside of his Austrian compatriot here. What a move from Flexi. He's looking really racy this evening.
Yeah, he got some help from Lewis on the beginning of this lap, and at this point in time, him and Mumu are putting on a clinic for Vanquish Racing here. It's going to be an interesting sight to see how much point they're going to recover from 92 Esports in particular. As it stands, don't forget, Hyper's nowhere to be seen. So if you're in this situation, right, the race start has not gone particularly well for 92. Kai, what's the game plan for the rest of this race?
Wait for the wet tires to come and see how it goes from there. At this point, just move on, especially for hypers. Just keep your cool and see from when the wet tires go on.
Here we go, Lewis just getting past Icon. Lewis up in the 5th. So it is currently Sim3 from Vanquish from 92, and then the opposite way round from Vanquish and Sim3. Manu! Oh, Manu just driven straight through Lewis! And Lewis is off the track after contact, and that will put Hypers right back in front of them.
That could be massive for the champion.
Exactly what Hypers needed.
It could be absolutely massive for the championship, because Lewis is looking so racing. Yes, Frey has the lead for Sim3, but that is an absolute unmitigated disaster for the Sim3 team as Lewis drops back down to P10 now, and that's music to the ears of 92, with Hypers now in front of the second Freem car. Looking at this battle down the back straight, Diego Rojas has had no pace at all today. Lewis will look to try and make advantage of that and try and get up the inside into Icon. They're 3 wide as well for P5 out front. Icon's gone deep. We'll get to that in a moment. In fact, we'll get to that now. Simon and Icon went a bit deep there. They're jostling position with Lopez, who's got first Tecker, who's made great advantage of these mistakes from other drivers around him. Cueto looked to also fluctuate his inside. There's contact. Lopez just about keeps it going with a bit of help from Hypers, who forces his way up to P7. This is fantastic news for 92.
That was absolutely incredible for a split second there. I'm not entirely sure what actually just happened. A lot of contact went through. Lewis is not complaining because he gained a couple of positions back. What I was actually about to point out before this race, after Lewis's contact there in the first couple of turns, is that even with a penalty potentially going for Manu in that situation, for driving straight through Lewis, it doesn't benefit Lewis. It gives Hypers the exact same benefit it will give Lewis, so they don't gain anything from it.
Wow, this is fantastic racing here down the back straight. Moreno potentially looking for a move on Mimi for P2. Right on the gearbox of him as we head down towards the bus stop chicane, but he's a bit too far back for him, just a bit further in front. But this is, penalty! Penalty for Frey further up. I just missed that. Apologies. Half a second, but as we've seen, even half a second of penalty could bring Miu and Moreno right back into play for the race lead. 1.1 second gap out front for the Italian from the Britain, and this could be a 3-way fight for the race lead as things stand from any moment now, as there's action a bit further back. Manu and Diego Ramos looking on the inside of Simon, who's sunk like a complete stone on the medium compound tyres, and he's now dead last. Horrible racing at the moment if you're a Visceral fan. Bottom of the championship as things stand, and now Simon dropping like a stone to dead last on track.
Yeah, it's not gone well for him. Something must have happened in the last lap or two that just kind of tempered his expectations just a little bit. Manu's now last, and it looks like, Simon just about saved him. I'm not entirely sure how. It looks incredibly sketchy on the outside, being forced all the way off the track and then some by Diego Rojas from Azteca as Azteca get up into 10th and somehow hold on to that position for a split second. Manu almost coming to the inside of the Rojas car, but it doesn't really force much of an issue for Rojas and Azteca there. That was almost even further of a catastrophic disaster for Simon at the beginning of this race. As
if Moreno was to overtake Miu, which is very much looking like doing at the moment, 92 would be in a position to take the championship title, so that move by Lewis could be decisive in whether we get this championship to Grand Valley or not. Still a lot of racing to go, though. The rain was starting to fall from now in the Silver Rockets battles. Frey serves his penalty, and both Mew Mew and Moreno are going to go around the outside, and first becomes third for Frey, and it might become fourth because Flexi's looking up the inside himself. Vanquish with a fantastic race, maybe a bit of contact there between Flexi and Frey, forcing Frey out wide. And Frey, who was leading this race, we spoke about it before, half a second penalty from ashes to dust for the Italian. He drops down to fourth, and it's now Mew Mew who leads this race for Vanquish Esports.
It is, and that's pretty much, well, more familiar to territory here for Mew Mew, as he got Moreno after him, Flexi as well. And I want to point out that in this situation, Vanquish need to outscore 92 by 18 points or more to stay alive. They are currently first and third. Hypers is only 8th, but as soon as I say that, Moreno to the inside, and Moreno is gonna retake the lead. He's been hanging in there desperately to try and hang on to a top 3. Never mind the lead of the race, but he's got the lead back, and now all of a sudden Supreme might be hitting a little bit of the panic stations.
Absolutely, and Quado's managed to get past Hypers as well, so that could be a slight derailment, but still, obviously the points gaps get larger as you go up the grid, so that move could be absolutely massive for 92 and their championship prospects. Samuel Moreno leading this race now and looking to try and pull away. He's nearly 4/10 clear of Mew Mew behind. That will come down the back straight towards Francorchamps naturally, but still, if you can get a safety net here, that could be ideal. And if Mew Mew does pass Moreno here, throw down this back straight, Vanquish would stop 92. 92 are in a position to win the title as things stand. If the checkered flag was to fall now, we'd be crowning them champions of the InfinityGSeries. That if Mew Mew can get this move back done, Vanquish, not Freem, but Vanquish, who currently sits second and third, would take this one to Grand Valley.
Yeah, it's insane. Don't forget, doesn't necessarily have to be Mew Mew that does it. Flexi is currently in third, so it doesn't matter who does it, as long as one of them does it. And it looks like they're going to have to do some teamwork to get it on the board. But for now, Moreno will take control of this race. The rain is looking like it's about to infiltrate the race as a whole, because it's on lap 7, and the sky is very, very grey.
Yes, it very much is. Coming down towards the back straight now. Move potentially being made for P6. I think Quedo gave Lewis a bit of a lob tap, but Lewis is having some fantastic pace at the moment. This could be the difference for Supreme. He had a spin, he dropped all the way back, and he now finds himself back up in P6. There's a potential move being made. This for the lead, and this potentially and provisionally to take Vanquish to the fight to Grand Valley. And I think Sam Moreno knows how important this is, because look how hard he's defending. Even at the midway point of this race, every point really does matter. And Moreno does hold position, as Mew Mew is looking particularly racy here with Flexi in support behind. Kai, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, definitely racy between Moreno and Mew. Just on the back straight, we saw Mew just step in the rear of Moreno, which made sure that he couldn't overtake him just at the end of the straight. So currently Moreno leading from Mew, with Moreno just having a bit more fuel over him, Mew.
That is fair, and I wanted to point out this as well, because we've seen there is a trend forming here where Moreno may be at the front, but his teammate is not anchoring him very well. He's very much moving backwards, not forwards. And he's currently been overtaken by Lopez. Simon, trying to get himself back into this race, has managed to get himself past Diego Rojas. The day gets from bad to worse if you are a Azteca fan, who have really not been able to get it going since round 6. Manu in front as well, but we know that there's probably a penalty or two coming his way. Lopez looking to try and make something happen against Lewis. We know Lewis has been particularly racy so far in this race, so I wonder if Lewis is going to be able to hold on against the Azteca driver, the Spanish driver. Lopez to his inside now as we head into the bus stop chicane. The rain has not fallen yet, which is extremely surprising given the fact that this is one hell of a weather at this point. The sky is about as grey as you could possibly get without it, and I think there is a penalty. A little bit further forward, there is. Sereno has a penalty in 6th place, which will bring Lopez and Lewis into the battle for 6th.
Lopez is running mediums, so is Hypers behind, and Hypers could be in a position to overtake Lewis, which could be huge for the championship battle. So the longer this race goes on without weather, although saying that the rain is starting to come down now, the medium tyre runners have benefited a lot here because of the extended effort in this race without rain. So really good news for the likes of Lopez and Hypers behind, as Mimi does go a bit wide potentially for the lead. Moreno can't quite get the cut back. But good racing overall here, but good news for the medium compound tyre runners, as I expect most, if not all, drivers come in at the end of lap 8 and bolt on their choice of wet tyres.
It's interesting because Frey had the opportunity at Flexi there for a split second. Flexi's got it back. And obviously, Mumu overtaken for the lead brings us into the situation we were talking about earlier, where I think it might be at this point that Vanquish is the team going to stop 92 from getting over the line so far tonight. And it's fairly interesting that that is the case. I would wonder, though, if you are Vanquish, if you are 92 right now, is the idea just to play it safe? You don't need to win it tonight. Obviously, you would enjoy winning it tonight. But is it just more protecting for next week, if nothing else, in worst case scenario?
What would you be doing in this position?
Yeah, looking at the position which Hypers is in right now, just take it safe for now. Yeah.
Okay, coming into the pit lane now, as expected, the majority of runners. And you see Miu and Moreno on the mediums really making it work ahead of the soft compound tyre runners further behind them, the likes of Flexi and Frey. And I think that's all 12 cars in as the rain starts to tumble down here at Spa-Francorchamps. And now the really interesting thing is, our drivers are going to bolt on the intermediates because we know we have longer without rain, or they're going to play it safe and opt for the wets. We'll see for now as some drivers opt to take on fuel. Let's see if there's any overtakes made in the pit lane. Majority, or the front three at least, going for full wets. I think the majority of the field will at this point. Mimi and Moreno coming out ahead of each other. In fact, they're ghosting each other down the back straight up towards Eau Rouge, but it is Mimi who manages to get back ahead of Moreno.
Yeah, and I want to point out that Hypers has gained on the fuel. He came in with 41%, which was about 10% more than any other person on the field. And he's currently 7th now, gained a couple of positions. Lewis dropped the positions in return, so that'll be massive for 92 with Moreno on the outside, trying to make a move for the lead. Will make a move for the lead. Is there a switchback attempt here for the pole? It's not going to happen, and Moreno will take the lead of this race, and all of a sudden, 92 just have that split-second thinking of, can they get it done tonight?
I mean, they're surely in a position to at this point. We've got our Bothans running the numbers backstage, of course, but we'll soon find out, because it does look like that battle, that race for the lead, could be huge, because make no mistake about it, it's now. The championship battle.
It absolutely is. I think you cut out just a little bit there. I don't know if that was just me or not. But we've got a bunch of drivers here, not that far from each other. Flexi is actually closing in massively on the front too, by the way, so I wouldn't count him out just yet. Hypers is up in a 5th. I just want to let that linger for a second. He came out the pits in 7th and went in 9th. Came out the pits 7th and is now 5th.
That's really,
He does have a big gap until P4, 5 seconds, so it might be difficult for him to catch up. But definitely P5 from P9 before the pits is a great jump.
Yes, it really is. He's managed to get by Lopez and Icon now. I'm looking at, I mean, he's managed to get by 2 drivers who look to be maybe holding the pack up slightly, so maybe Hypers can try and make a break out front. As you mentioned, Kai, nearly 5-second gap to fray out front for Sim 3, because there's all sorts of carnage and chaos happening behind between the 2 Krakensteins drivers, Lopez and Icon. Icon trying to work his way around the outside. Can he make it work? I'm not sure he can. Oh my goodness, Lewis finding his way in there as well from absolutely nowhere, and Simon just a complete bystander. But all things and all manner of means happening. But even with all these battles happening as things stand, Vanquish are currently outscoring 92 by 5 points, would you believe? And that would mean our title race does go to Grand Valley.
Team, I don't think it does. That's a certain. They need outscored by 18. That certainly isn't
Very
happening
true,
right now.
yes.
Wrong team. That's Sim 3 that needs it to be. Back as we gain another one. Lewis is gaining left, right, and centre, but goes a little bit deep. I think Icon will take that back, and so will Simon. And that might be a mistake that Lewis is going to want back because he just lost 4 places.
It's fantastic racing here, but much to the detriment of Lewis in this championship campaign from Sim3 Esports they were attempting to run into today seems to be falling apart by the wayside here, and it looks to be Vanquish Esports that could be the main competition. But all this battle, all this fighting will be running into the hands of Hypers. Although saying that, you'd have thought with all this fighting he'd have pulled away a much bigger gap. He hasn't actually really. He's still only half a second ahead of Lopez for Azteca, who all of a sudden are having a pretty decent race themselves after a dismal qualifying session. You'd have thought with all this fighting behind, if Hypers could pull away, that took the championship race to bed. Because remember, as things stand, 92 would win the championship with Freem and Vanquish both off of it. But he's been unable to meet the gains he might well have wanted.
Absolutely, and Hyper's now just 7.5 second on Lopez, and Simon is the car behind, and he is dropping off. He's about to turn into a bottleneck rather than going forward. He's going to force everyone backwards. Laredo trying to make a move, trying to get something to happen. Icon behind that. Then it's Lewis, who desperately needs some overtakes and needs to start going now, because he is in trouble if he does not. Because Hypers is not looking like he's slowing down. He's very much content with just backing up this pack as much as humanly possible. We've just been told that in order for this title to go to Grand Valley next week, as it stands, both VQS drivers need to pass Samuel Moreno in this race. And Kai, how likely do you think that is to happen right now?
Well, difficult. Moreno already made a full second onto both VQS drivers, so he needs to make a mistake for that to happen, honestly.
Yeah, it's very much going to be Jose Mourinho tactics, you feel like, from Sam Moreno. Park the bus, lads, and just try and pull away as much as possible, and just anything at all possible to try and stop the 2 cars behind from getting by. I mean, you could realistically let Mew Mew pass and come home second and still take home the title with Hyper's current position. Although I'm not sure Moreno would want that. No, Sam Moreno, I think he'd want to win this championship in style if indeed they were to win it tonight and take home a race win to see 92 over the winning post and win the championship with a race to spare for the first time in series history, their first ever win in the InfinityGSeries. And boy, have they deserved it off of tonight's performances, as they're side by side between Quedo and Lewis behind. This battle for 8 looking really, really interesting at the moment. Icon's also involved in there as well, and Manu Hinaut lurching in behind, but Quedo has the advantage as things stand side by side between Manu and Icon further behind, really pushing together now. Quedo's managed to pull forward a bit. Is Manu going to look up the inside here of Lewis? That'd be a fantastic move if it's pulled off, but he does think better of it. But Lewis really falling back here as things stand at the moment for all the early race pace he had.
Yep, he's just not having it in the rain. He was in the dry. He was the fastest, potentially the fastest man on track. Obviously, the incident between him and Manu, which are the 2 drivers currently going at it right now, hindered him massively in this one. But in the rain, he's got no pace whatsoever. He is under fire from about half the grid. Here we go again, Manu, and I think we may have just had our return fire. I'm not entirely sure. We're going to get another look at that and see if we can get another look at that, because that didn't look too particularly clean. Let's have a look what happened here between Lewis and Manu, and a little bit of contact. It probably was Lewis's corner, but it doesn't look clean. I'll tell you that much.
No, I think Manu just completely uprates himself there. I don't think there was much Lewis could have done there at all. As we head up the back straight now, and that gap is just continually increasing for Sam Moreno as things stand. 1.3 seconds. He just needs to drive 3 more, even 2 3/4 laps more, just of clean, respectful driving, parking the bus, as we say. And with these positions that we're in at the moment, 92 Esports would take home the championship title. Although saying that, Hypers is making a bit of a meal of things in behind, and P5's got pressure behind quite a bit from Lopez and Simon. I'm not sure if those overtakes will be enough to swing the championship into Vanquish's favour or anything with reduced points. for Hypers, but he's really not pulling away as much as he would have wanted to. He is struggling quite a bit out there and under pressure from quite a few cars behind.
Yeah, I would assume if these two in particular, Lopez and Simon, get Hypers, then maybe only just the one driver from Vanquish need to overtake Moreno, albeit that's not looking very likely this round, tactic of just park the bus and not just get to the end by any means necessary, realistically, because he needs to just defend his position up to this point. Is that what you'd do, Kai, if you were Hypers right now? Would you be looking to stick to this position no matter the scenario?
Yeah, definitely do. If you want to win the title at this point, definitely stick with this position. There's no point looking ahead now, with a gap of almost 4 seconds, with only 2 laps to go. So at all points, at all matters, good position for him.
Do you think, because obviously you're a driver who's been in, championship winning positions, qualification positions for big in-person events, we know about all your achievements within the game. Do you think Hypers, as things stand, will be aware of the situation at hand? Do you think he'll know he can't afford to give up this position if 92 wants to win the title?
For sure. I guess before the race, they knew already they had a very good chance of
Simon's
winning
out.
the race.
Sorry, apologies. Apologies, Kai, but they just DC'd from the lobby. Oh, you could tell that was going to happen because he was teleporting all over the place. But he is out, so that will promote everyone behind just a little bit more. It also gives Hypers a little bit of respite losing 2 positions. He can potentially now only lose 1. I'll let you take the floor back.
Yeah, still looking at this, Hypers. Looking at space, he probably has it in the back with a gap of 9 tenths. Just have to take it home to win the title.
Yeah, it's been a pretty dismal race for Visceral in general. They were the bottom team in the championship heading into this one, and that was Simon's disconnection. I believe Icon's down in P10, only ahead of Diego Rojas, who's had a pretty instant street race. But it's a penalty up front, penalty for San Moreno, and the 9/10 of a second gap to Miu Miu behind. Could the pressure be getting to the young Spaniard with the looming threat of the 2 vanquished drivers? Could it be getting to him? We'll see. The penalty line is coming up. He's managed to pick the penalty up further away. He can take the penalty on this lap and prevent it having to go to the last lap shootout. But a reminder to everyone watching at home that if 92 need to win this championship tonight, they need to fend off both vanquished drivers behind, Miu and Flexi. But that half-second penalty, we're heading through Francorchamps now, where drivers are going to lift off, and it's not going to be enough. He's only going to be half a second behind. So as we come through the bus stop now and through the final corner, it's a last lap shootout. Samuel Moreno in pole position to take the title home for 92 Esports. He needs to hold off both Flexi and Miu for Vanquish Esports. P1 or P2 takes home the title for the Spanish team. Final lap here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yep, 1 lap to go. La Source over for the final time for Moreno and for Mumu. Flexing behind, he's too far back to really play an effect on this at all. But it is 8/10 of a second here between Moreno and Mumu. And it's going to be a shootout to the end. It's not going to look too good, though, for Vanquish at this point in time. Moreno seems to have full control down the Kemmel Straight. Not a lot of slipstream will take effect because in the rain, it doesn't have as much of the effect as it would in the dry, which I would assume Mumu would have loved for it to stay because he was in control up until that point. But for now, Moreno, with about half a lap to go between him and a little bit of destiny.
Absolutely, and that gap just keeps growing. 1.1 seconds now. If you're in the head of Samuel Moreno, you're just thinking, bring it home. Hypers is doing well to keep hold of P5. He's now 2 seconds clear of Lopez behind for Azteca Racing. So this really is it. You're thinking Hypers is going to hold that 2-second advantage. So it's all on the race lead. Samuel Moreno coming through P1 now. 1.3 seconds the gap to Miu Miu behind. It's looking like he's going to do it. Can he hold the position now as he heads through the chicane and Buffet? Right and then left onto the curbs, or avoiding the curbs as best as possible, I should say. in this wet weather. 1.3 seconds. That gap just keeps on increasing through the next turns now. The two quick right-handers, and then it's down the back straight one more time towards Blanchimont. That quick left-hander. 1.4 seconds. The gap still grows for Samuel Moreno, and it's looking like 92 Esports, who have been the dominant force in the Infinity G Series the entire season, wins throughout a 1-2 at the Circuit de la Sarthe this season. And for the first time in G Series history, we're going to have title winners with a race to spare. 92 Esports, they deserve it from pillar to post. They come through the final corner now. Samuel Moreno takes home the race win and potentially a date with destiny. Second and third for Miu and Flexi, and it's all on his come home in 4-5, and 92 Esports are the champions of the Infinity G Series for the first time.
His voice almost dying at the end there. It very much didn't survive. Lopez gets over in 6th, Manu in 7th. He'll get a penalty which will bump Lewis up into 7th. It won't be enough regardless. It looked like Corrado may have got 8th there. We'll see in a minute here, but that was just a class race there from Samuel Moreno, and enough to crown 92 Esports as champions of the Infinity G Series and champions of the world while they're at it.
Fantastic racing, and you know, Samuel Moreno is so young, he's only just turned 18, and to have that much pressure on his shoulders. This is a man who's already qualified for the World Series at 18. He's had world beating pace for years and years. We've all known this. But to have that much pressure on your shoulders, knowing that if you take home the win, you all but win the title. And then you can say the same for Estevez. He's been in that position before where he's had the pressure of, you do this, you win the world title. He's a proven world champion. But, I mean, you can't discredit 92 Esports. They deserve this championship so much. They've been the dominant force basically after round 3 when Ours Esports started tailing off and they ended up in the Silver Rockets. It's been 92 who've looked like the team to be for the rest of the season, and they do take home the titles. I believe we have the replay set up from Kai, so if we want to head to that at the moment, we can take a look at the race start and see what happened in the first few corners. But a well-deserved championship win for 92 Esports, and they'll be delighted heading into Grand Valley next week. Let's take a look at the race start with Tyro and Kai.
There we go. This is going to be the start then. We go. A very long hold again. Spa's been very, very unkind to the drivers so far today with that kind of hold. We've seen it a decent amount so far. Looking at that first turn, I don't know if you've see anything properly here, Guy, or to go over.
Nothing much yet at the T1. Looks a bit clear. I think the first move will be down at the end of the camel straight.
It looked like, yeah, we saw a few moves in this. Frey hit the lead early in this one as well. So there was opportunities for other teams in this race. You can see Moreno getting swallowed up there in the first lap. There's about 4 or 5 different cars. You got Simon there as well, Manu all involved. Obviously, Manu has his own massive involvement later on with Lewis in a couple of laps time, but we'll get to that as we go along. But yeah, it looked like it looked like Frey had an opportunity. That one penalty for Frey early in the race that dropped him from 1st to 4th into the pit stop really, really, really killed any chance for Simfreem to really put a fight up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Simfreem and especially Vanquish, absolutely hats off to them. They've been absolutely incredible the entire season, and Vanquish in particular had a massive outside chance heading into this race. They had a dismal race at Le Mans. They were 5th in the championship heading into this one. They managed to pull a race together with Miu coming home P2 and Flexi coming home P3. They were just a couple of overtakes away from unpredictably sending the championship to a straight fight at Grand Valley. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's not much else to say. There weren't many incidents in this race. I mean, like, not many major incidents. Obviously, there was wheel-to-wheel racing the entirety, and that will result in some contact there or thereabouts. But overall, I mean, you can't argue against 92 Esports being the deserved champions of this series. They've led this race from pillar to post, as I say, since about round 3 at Lego Maggiore when they took home 44 points, and their direct rivals at the time, Owls Esports, only took home 11. Since then, it's been one-way traffic. They had a brief blip at the Red Door Ring where they only scored 20. But other than that, it's been 40+ for the rest of the regular season. As we see that spin for Diego Rojas at the end of the first lap, that put him in a bad situation. He did come home last time. Maybe you could take us through that.
Yeah, I think on the exit, just a unfortunate incident here. Alcuda's just touching me on the rear there, and yeah, just spinning there. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, and we've spoken a bit this season about maybe a bit of, if you're in a cooking stage camp, a bit of disappointment if your name is not Manu, I suppose, other than Jose Ito's performance at Le Mans on Monday where he finished in P5. Not much coming from the teammates this season, but Manu himself, Kraken in general, did particularly have a great race this evening. Really nothing to write home about from them as we see some more action down the Kemmel Straight and towards Com, but overall,
Yeah, and they did what they needed to do. We came to it today, and the line was, especially from my point of view, that it depends on what Moreno we were getting. Well, in the first half of this race, Moreno wasn't particularly setting the world alight. He got in the dry, into a position where he wasn't really going to turn this over, and then the wet came, and he just took it by the horn and just absolutely, obliterated any chance anyone else had of trying to force the extra race out of this actual championship, taking it to Grand Valley, and that will not happen as a result because 92 are world champions.
Absolutely. Now, I was going to save this final section before we end for the evening to talk about, the potential championship race heading into Grand Valley next week. Sadly, we can't do that because we already know what's happening. We know 92 have wrapped it up. But we'll have a look very quickly at our final race of the championship on the 16th of June next week. We will be headed to Grand Valley Highway 1 with a choice of 4 cars for the team. So you've got any of the GT500 cars in the game, so the Supra, the R34 or the NSX, as well as potentially some teams maybe wanting to go a bit more American and opt for the Ford GT LM race car as well. So 4 cars for the teams to pick from next week, 1 per team member, so you're not going to see any teams doubling up. But 4 cars for the teams to pick from, 15 laps of Grand Valley Highway 1. Kai, what are your thoughts on that combination? Grand Valley and the GT500 car seems like it'll be a good one to end the season.
Yeah, definitely. With different car choices for people to take on. Especially maybe the exit of the last corner. I think you can make or break it there for a move. But I guess it'll be a fun one to watch.
Absolutely. And final word from you, Pyro, before we wrap up the evening. We have the championship wrapped up. It's been a fantastic season, but the action doesn't stop. We've got the Silver and Bronze Rockets championships still to be decided.
It's going to be a very interesting final day when it comes to just the Bronze and the Silver Rockets. Obviously, everything goes out to 92. They came in, they did their job, they did what they needed to do. It's world class from them. But now the attention turns to Silver and to Bronze because they've still got 2 championships to deal with, and a lot can happen in a race. A lot can change over one night, and we'll see what happens next Monday.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap up for the evening now. 92 Esports are your InfinityGSeries champions for 2026. That much has been decided, but there's still so more at stake in terms of bragging rights and prize money heading into Grand Valley next week. Thanks to Kai de Bruyne for joining us this evening. It's been a phenomenal analysis across some of the action through the evening. My thanks to Pyro as well for joining me in co-coms as he did on Monday. He'll be back next week alongside Jens and Aliu to bring us the final race of the action at Grand Valley. I sadly won't be. I'll be away on holiday, so this is my final bow to you for this season. But it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you commentary. The boys will be back next week for Grand Valley. But until then, from Kai, from Pyro, and from myself, it's been a great evening of action, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye for now. And we're done.